Streams live.
We're live.
So this is
All
the
right.
moment that everyone. This is the moment that everyone goes like, "Can you hear me? Am I live? This and
Yeah.
that."
Can you hear me? We already did it. So cool, man. So live streaming, all the rage now. the new media platform or whatever.
You know, I love it because it seems actually really easy. You know,
Mhm.
just like reaction videos and stuff like that. And I don't see too many people doing it with two people. Do you?
No. If anything, it's like usually a guest comes on somebody's stream and reacts with them, but typically it's just because it's like these streamers, they live in their house and it's just all they do all day long, right? So if someone doesn't live with them, and I don't think they love having double screen if they can avoid it. But
What's the problem with double screen?
I think like
fun.
they just want I don't know. It just seems to be
I'm
done
hearing all your bullshit
less
stories
often.
right now. yeah.
Saying, like, I like this, but
No,
this is
I want
my view of streamers. I don't know. I don't know what the total streaming landscape is like right now. So
yeah, I'm just saying, usually I've never seen a double stream, right? And actually I watch a lot of streamers. I love it. I actually prefer, it bums me out a little bit because it takes views away from the guy, the original creator that puts like something out on YouTube,
totally.
right? So that bums me out because I'm a YouTube guy through and through right now. I hope it really stays free and clear, even though they're already submitting to the, to the great leader. And we'll talk about that. But I'm a YouTube guy. I've canceled all my other shows. I don't watch movies anymore. It feels like a waste of time unless I'm like doing something in the background and I'm full on whatever it is that I've been exploring. I very rarely will ever, like maybe once every 6 months, I'll watch half a movie. I'm always on my YouTube channels, getting filled on these different information channels, right? I got my military, my healing, my this, my that. And, something we talked about right before we came on the stream is I really want to share that with you, because I love your perspective. And I know we agree on a lot and we come from a similar place, but we've talked before. We're friends and we disagree on some things. And when that happens, I'm always baffled. Like, I'm like, it's just totally baffling. And so I'm hoping that on some level, the way we interact with each other can be an example to others as to what a healthy interaction can look like.
Totally.
And the only reason, I promise I'll let you talk in a second. The only reason why I feel like I can be an example of what a healthy dynamic and dialogue can look like is because I've put 15 years of my life into doing that. And I've spent well over 10,000 hours sitting down with people and doing this on the deepest possible level. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm just coming off 6 hours of doing that today. And I already, before we came on here, I cried, I think 2 or 3 times because of that. So there's going to be more of that, but you'll get to know me for those of you that are new to this. And that's it. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. No, I'm pumped to be back. I'm pumped to be doing this. Yeah. Well, it's funny because like I started my podcast as a copycat of Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole from you. Like that was my inspiration to start doing that. I remember my parents bought me podcast equipment for my graduation gift for college. And I had a sports radio show in college. And I started doing talking about conspiracies, taboo topics, and politics and, creating controversy. Me and you we're always like a couple of years ahead of the wave, ahead of the popularity wave. But I remember my parents being like, we thought you were going to do a sports podcast. Why are you talking about all this stuff? You don't have to talk about these things. You should just talk about them with your friends. You don't have to put it out there publicly, So.
Well, you're disrupting the tribe, right?
Totally. So.
Danger.
Yeah. Could cause waves in the social norms of things, especially within
whoa. Everything was under control here, Zach. Everything was safe.
Everything was perfect.
We knew what we could count on, and that was you never changing.
Yeah.
And now you're changing, and you're fucking things up for us.
Yeah.
And, and we're only reason why we haven't killed you, Ed, is because you're my son. You're a threat to the whole community.
Yeah.
It's built in, though. I really believe that that's
Yeah.
built into life. You know, when
Yeah.
somebody wakes up and they start evolving, they start irritating everybody else, and the ones who are irritated will defend themselves appropriately, and they can either take in the light or not. That's it. They can
Mhm.
either resist the light or take in the light that's being transmitted. And then
Yeah.
you, who's evolving, has to go through this journey, right? This journey that everybody's talked about in so many spiritual texts and wonderful works of art and so on, where you have to build this muscle to basically say, okay, I don't need validation from anyone. Or if you're on the other side of that, okay, I don't need to be saying fuck you to everybody all day long, right? Because
Mhm.
it's the same thing. Just this, two sides of the same wound of like wanting to belong and wanting to be loved, right? You build this muscle where you can sort of like have compassion for people's limitations, right? And you said, say, okay, that's their path. And I'm not gonna demand that everybody changes the same way they demand that I stay the same,
Mhm.
right? And you build this muscle and you develop a different capacity for life. And then 10 years later, you do a live stream on YouTube. And
Yeah.
here we are.
Here we are. I will say though, I don't want to make it sound like my parents are awful. I actually like really appreciate I would say like the in between ways in which my parents approached me being me, um,
Hmm.
where they would voice concerns, and it did cost me to like overthink a lot of things. But also, I'm happy because it kept me grounded. Because like a lot of these, let's say, teaching, so like starting out, going from standard American view of the world, white guy growing up in the northeast area of the United States, jumping from like that, being a conservative minded person myself at the time too, and then just jumping away from it. It's a huge story to try to replace, right? So if you just go from believing it to everything's a lie, right? Which is what my experience was with the conspiracy thing, looking back on it. And I hate even calling it conspiracy culture. Like, I want to come up with the right word of it, but more popularly known as like conspiracy culture.
Well,
Um,
here, let's break it down. Can I break it down for a sec?
yeah, let's break it
Or is it
down.
going to?
No, I'll get
So
it.
rabbit hole, it started with conspiracy for me, right?
Mhm.
And conspiracy became such a strong attractor because I was basically still insane. Truly. I was
Yeah,
still very messed up from childhood. I hadn't figured things out. And the role of conspiracy in the world, when we start talking about conspiracy theory, the way it's most commonly held in the zeitgeist, is it actually provides a lot of comfort for people. It takes a lot of unknown and a lot of the scary parts of life and it brings it into the known. Oh, I
this
see
is
what's going
exactly
on.
where I'm going with. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exactly where I'm
Right.
going with it. It's exactly what happens, right? Yeah, it's so. For me, I think about it in terms of like narrative therapy as well. Like, so you have this narrative about yourself. So being like, oh, I'm an American, right? I'm a Catholic, I'm a whatever, right? There's particular certain things that come along with that. Like being American is associated with I'm the good guy, right? We're the righteous ones, we're the freedom fighters, those types of things. Like we saved the world from the Nazis, and like that's kind of, and we ended slavery and we killed the Nazis, and like a very black and white type of understanding, but your identity is kind of built within that, the macro identity, right? And then you have your micro identities, which is more of like your identities within your families and local communities. But going through that like macro identity death of like, oh, this is all bullshit, right? It creates a void and it creates an identity crisis. And then conspiracies come in and they give you a perfect answer to replace it, right? Instead of living in that unknown, as you're saying, living in the space in between, you replace it with another story, and then you attach your identity to that story, and you're just doing the same thing on the other side.
Yes. That's what I learned very quickly,
Yeah.
because the best thing I ever did was join a healing school and go on a healing path because something about me as I was exploring consciousness. Yeah, when I first got into it, I was like, all right, let's look at these conspiracies. Let's see what's true. Let's see what's not true. But very quickly, I was also attracted to consciousness itself. Some part of me was like, there's something about like how we're relating to these things and how we perceive reality that seems very important to me. And I very quickly got into this healing journey where I started to realize, holy crap, right? It's our consciousness and our own sense of ourselves and how we move through the world, and fundamentally how we feel safe, how we take care of ourselves, and how we protect ourselves from the places that we feel most vulnerable and the most unconscious parts of ourselves that we don't know how to give a place to in our lives. That's most of what we're doing here in life. Fundamentally, we're taking care of ourselves, right? I have a healing practice, right? I have a wave of, hopefully you're not listening, high powered clients that are coming in, millionaires, people with a ton of money. What are we talking about? How small they feel, how disconnected they
Mhm.
are, how unhappy they are, right? It's all connected, right? I have to be so big because I feel so small. Well, what happened? Well, I had a fucked up childhood and I was made to feel small. My mom was depressed.
Mhm.
There's no room for my needs. So what did I tell myself? I don't need needs. So now every time I ask for something, I feel like I'm too much, right? And to rectify that, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to be a fucking billionaire, and I'm going to do that. But I'm so unhappy. So I got to pay this healer, and it's like it's all connected to like our consciousness, how we're relating to the world, and so on. And story, as you put it, is so important because when you start to understand how all this has worked, I'm so glad I'm just diving right into this, by the way. When you understand how all this worked, like one of our teachers, Jason Schulman, would say, human beings are narrative making machines. We're storytelling machines. There's nothing we could do. We're going to tell stories. What's the nature of story? We're going to take pieces and parts of reality, right? And we're going to make a whole out of these pieces and parts.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's comforting to be in the known. Why? Because then I can do something.
Yeah.
But it's a false clarity. It's a false clarity, right? What does a false clarity do? It just means you're going to run into the same problems down the road. Anything that was left out that you created a story around, you're going to meet later on through the unconscious patterns that you're repeating over and over again until you finally take a step back and say, wait, I'm the problem. And that's the
Mhm.
wake up moment. And then you include whatever unconsciousness has been left out. You metabolize, you transform, your consciousness change, different options and choices appear, and now your life changes, right? And so when you start to see conspiracy, it gets confusing because there are conspiracies. I mean,
Mhm.
conspiracies have never been more in our face in the entire fucking time that we've been alive. You know what I'm saying? Like it's never been more in our face how
Yeah.
obvious the conspiracies are real,
Yeah.
right?
Just
And,
blatant
and
corruption and fraud directly in our face.
it's insane. It's insane, right? It's like you want to make fun of a guy like Alex Jones and you want to shun
Right.
him and kick him out of the tribe. And then you start to take a look back and say, he's been right about a few things. We can learn a little bit about him. You know, he's a little
Yeah.
crazy, a little bit more
And
than
it's
crazy.
also it's transformed from like a, I would say, subculture like discourse, like online. It's like a subculture, like online discourse, something that was
Yeah,
like in the consciousness, but not really materialized yet. And now it has shifted
yeah. I
completely
see that.
into the material world where now it's like, okay, this is different. It's not like Alex Jones talking about, aliens and the police state. This is, you have people directly in the White House who are actively like engaged in this type of like online discourse, which is a
I don't agree with
complete
you at all. By the way, I'm just
about the
saving my ass.
people people
I have a daughter. I have a daughter. So go White House. Go White House.
allegedly,
Yeah,
allegedly,
yeah, 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 yeah. No,
right?
obviously, I'm.
So,
Listen, yeah, go on.
so, but yeah, just like watching how the players have, and also remember like all these people are individuals, right? Like Alex Jones was not like he was back then. Like he was still nuts, but like he is completely disconnected from reality now.
So, right. And I see like what I love about the work that I do and the work that I do for those of you that don't know me is I do a very specific form of healing called non-dual Kabbalistic healing. And in short, it works with consciousness itself. Okay. So one of the things that this work has done for me after more than 10,000 healings and so on is I really have a good understanding of how all of life is in a state of unfolding. We're always self-actualizing. And the human design, there actually is a way because we have this wonderful gift of self reflective consciousness where we can actually participate consciously in our unfolding. So, what does that look like? Not creating more suffering for ourselves, not creating problems where there are no problems, knowing where we are located in our unfolding, right? And so, since the nature of reality is holographic, this unfolding exists on every aspect of reality, the smallest molecule to the largest universe, and in the human design as well, as a personal thing and a collective thing, right? So there's a collective unfolding that there's destinies of nations, there's destinies of countries, there's destinies of communities, right? Everybody has a particular unfolding that they're going through. Here's where I'm going with this. I know I took the long way around, but here we are. There's an unfolding that I see right now. The embracing of conspiracy is a necessary claiming of that part of reality that wasn't pop culture before. It was hidden in the background. People didn't know what to do with it. There was
Correct.
no conscious, healthy relationship to it. And what happens? I'll give an example. I had a girlfriend in my early 20s. This was actually before I was a healer, but I did notice that she was never angry. Right. So I said, hey, sweetie, you need to get angry. You need to give a place for anger in your life. So what
Yeah.
happened? She became a fucking tyrant. She was out of control, telling everybody what to, oh, this energy coming out, right? And this is a part of what happens, the messiness of including more reality into being a healthy person, right? So conspiracy shows up. Ah, it's all conspiracy, man. Oh my God, this answers
Yeah.
everything, right? If I was looking for safety, here it is, baby. All the answers to everything. And you go on. That's me. I was screaming at the clouds. Look at the chemtrails, baby. Look at this. You know, and it got
Yeah.
mixed up, right? I got into conspiracy the same time I was going through a spiritual awakening, right? And so I'm talking to dead people, which was totally real, and I still do it to this day. Probably lost a bunch of listeners there, but the fact is, it's true, it's real, and so on. And I conflated the two realities. I hadn't a healthy enough relationship with the two that I started to think, oh, if this is all happening and I can do all that, then obviously, aliens, the Rothschilds, we were seated here, giants, and so on. Obviously, it was like a no brainer. And then you sort of wake up, you get from the hangover, and it really is. It's like an intoxicating seduction to find safety in that false clarity,
Mhm.
right? You wake up from it and you go, and it's humiliating, but it's
Humiliating.
healthy.
Humiliating. Yeah.
Say more. But I'll say if you don't.
Yeah. It's what I've found was a part of my ego during that, whether it was my identity as, conservative American tradition, we're the best country, blah, 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 that narrative, or jumping to the conspiracy thing. My ego was coming from the place of, I am the good guy. Therefore, the things that I say and believe are correct, right? Versus coming from a place where I try to come from now is, my goal is to be good and righteous. Therefore, how should I act? Right. And going through that feeling of like the self-righteousness, starting with I am righteous. Therefore, what I say and what I believe is the right thing. Right. I can't
Mm-hmm.
believe anything bad. Yeah. And to take the risk at the age as naturally outspoken people to put ourselves out there and say these things so anybody can hear it on the internet, and then to be identified with that wherever you go, right? When people see you in public and the things that they're thinking about you, and
Yes.
it's you kind of
It's
lose. Yeah, it's a big risk to kind of just, especially at that time, especially at
of
that
course.
time.
Yes. Well, because you're making yourself a target. Right?
Yes.
It's safe to be in the tribe. It's safe to be in the known. When you press against it, you become a target, and some people get killed. That's just
Mhm.
the reality. That's why I joke around / not joking at all about my support for the White House. Go, 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 White House. Like I'm serious about this. Like it scares the
Thank
shit
you,
out of me.
Mr.
If I didn't,
Thank you, Mr. T.
yeah, like we bow to you. And I have, in my 20s, I would have been leading the charge. In my 30s, not my 30s, I just turned 40.
Yeah.
I have a 3-year-old daughter, and when she was born, that was the first time in my life I felt real terror. I
Mhm.
was like, oh, now I have something to lose. Right. And it changes my perspective. It changes how I move through the world. So put that aside for a sec. Going back to the righteousness you're talking about, the challenge that we have here is, as limited beings, we only have a certain amount of information to work with, and we have to do the best that we can moment to moment. We have to work with what we know. And so the trouble that we get into is when it's righteousness only, and we're not holding the reality that our sense of righteousness, which comes from who we are, and it can come from a good place, right? But the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And it's coming from this place of righteousness only. And what I mean by that is, I'm right, you're wrong, creates a sense of separation. When I can say I'm right, and there's probably other possibilities that I haven't yet lived into in a larger model of consciousness, a larger model of reality, that's always going to be coming in and knocking on my door because I'm a limited being and I have to heal into that larger model, then I can hold that righteousness lightly. And then I'm not in this lower paradigm of consciousness where I'm in right or wrong and it's dualistic. Instead, I'm in the land of relationship. All right, I think I'm right. And based on what I've explored and what I've done, I put some work in here. And I'm 40 years old now. So like I should be a leader of a nation if I wanted to be, right? I'm old enough at this point. I should be an elder in some sorts, right? So I need to claim that in myself, but I also need to know that I'm probably very, very wrong, right? But I'm doing the best that I can. So my job is not to impose my will on others, but to share how I came to these conclusions, what conclusion I've come to, hold it lightly, and allow more points of information to come in. They're going to change my understanding of life, the goals that I have, how I relate to myself and the world, and so on. Right. And that way, it's not righteousness only. The righteousness only puts you in a box, creates separation, and it's going to suck all the oxygen out of your life. And you're going to find you have no friends and family and so on. You're going to go, what the fuck? I know what's right, but nobody's around to listen anymore. Right. Well, it's because there's no relationship to the other. You're only in relationship to yourself. It's a very narcissistic position. And yet we all find ourselves in this position on one point on the path of seeking and so on. Is it making sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's a really important point, right? It's something that I'm going to bring in. If you're going to follow these live streams and listen to the shows on this network, I'm going to talk about stuff, and I'm going to go out of my way to say it's this, but not this only. I'm going to say, hey, this is a problem in your life, but it's not a problem only, because if you only hold this thing as a problem, you're never going to have the chance to transform and understand the unconsciousness that creates this problem over and over again with different views and different faces and different metaphors and so on. Right. So we're actually here to let problem solve us. Right. But you still need to solve problems, because with the best information we have to do the best that we can with what we do. And you hold that lightly, and that's very much the spirit that I bring into this work. And I fail all the time. There are going to be times when I feel like I'm the man, and I'm just like, no, shut up. I know it's right. And then I know when I see that, I'm going to go, oh my God, I'm going to let it humiliate me. And I'm going to go, oh, fuck, there was something inside me that I couldn't tolerate. And I just shut this person down to shut him up because I was scared. Some shit like that. Right. Anyway, go on.
Every now and then it's appropriate to put somebody down, though. Every now and then. It's a needed.
It's
a needed.
Right. It's
if you do it the right way, you can do it the right way.
Life is art.
Life is art.
There's no right or wrong in that sense. We're doing our best. We learn by failing. And the times when you're going to have to be like, I don't know any other option. I'm going to have to punch this guy in the face. It's just what's presenting at the moment. And yet I practice nonviolence. How do I rectify that? That's where self-reflection comes in. Right? As long as you're doing that, you do the best you can each moment and so on. All right. I feel like I presented myself all right. That's kind of the spirit of what I want to bring into this, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is so much has changed since the early wave of podcasting, that culture shift, I don't know, in terms of popular media. And it's so interesting because I was in my senior year of college when I saw you posting about it and Stand Up New York Labs. And you were in the podcast network with a whole bunch of people that are at the top now.
They're huge. I was on Charlie Murphy's podcast several times.
Yeah.
Charlie Murphy, you know,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, like everybody that was in that crew is uber successful right now, millionaires, right?
Everyone. I was thinking
And
from
here
like
I am just scrapping.
Norman, Norman, the girls, Christina Hutchison and Corinne
Yeah.
Fisher, Mike, super successful,
What's his Smith?
Stefano,
Dave Smith?
Dave Smith.
Dave Smith?
Yeah.
Everyone, every single person that was there is now a millionaire, truly, you know? And I look back and I think that was cool. I wanted to make a joke about how bad my life is, but it's really not. I'm actually like in my what's so cool about being on the spiritual path, and it comes up a lot. I feel such gratitude for it. I want for nothing. Truly. I want for nothing. I have no desire to get anywhere, to be anything. I don't want any material things. I want to get rid of stuff, you know? And I'm like, I'm so grateful for that. And in my sense, that's my version of that, right? It's impossible to compare. And people might see that as egoic. I don't give a shit. It's not. It's to me, it's the it's the gift and the end practical result of spending 15 years of your life living this work over and over and over again, day by day, and putting 6 to 10 hours of it in every fucking day. What does it look like? It looks like eventually manifesting as serotonin, where I'm no longer unhealed, and the gap that was created between the love I couldn't get as a child and the way and what I want in life, which creates dopamine in me. And dopamine says, oh, this feels great, I want more. So here's somebody that's unavailable. Let me chase them and chase them and chase them and get high. And oh, I can never get it, right? Another abusive relationship. Oh, this is what I love. And then the result of a well-lived spiritual life is serotonin. Oh, this feels good. I am content. I am content. And that doesn't mean that I'm leaving anything out either, right? So truly, it's a wonderful feeling to sit back and say, I want for nothing except the amount of pleasure that I get in sharing what I've understood on this path. That's literally why I'm here. That's all I want to do. You know, so there's a place in me where it's like everything is settled. When I wake up in the morning, stillness. I don't want to save myself from anything. Stillness. And what I fill that with, whatever I want. More of myself. What do I want to do? I want other people to experience this. I want to share what I know. It brings me such great pleasure to say, here's the map. You walk the territory. When you get in trouble, give me a call. I'll help you work through that stuff. But you already got it. You're already there. You're already unfolding. My job is just to help you when you get stuck. I'll speed things along for you. You get what I'm saying?
Hell yeah, man. When do you feel like you started to settle? Like you're feeling like, okay, this is what it likes to
Yeah.
to feel settled in my body.
Yeah. Good question. Probably year 13 or 14 into this work. Yeah. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, 10 or 11 or 12 years of total fucking hell. Like it wasn't fun.
No, you have
Every
been.
healing. Oh yeah. Take the catastrophic and devastating illnesses and experiences aside. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about my relationship to the spiritual path. Because like the way I am is if I'm into something, this is part of my early wounding too, where it's like nobody's going to tell me what to do. Oh, you want to get a job, Tim? Fuck you. You want to pay your taxes? Fuck you. You want to send a thank you card? You want to send a thank you card to your best friend for inviting you to your wedding? Fuck you. Right? I got to ride that every moment of the day. Right? And once I started to wake up to that and work what that was made of, which is basically a fuck you to my parents and so on because of certain things, my life got so much easier. I was like, oh my God, I'm not exhausted all the time. Why am I exhausted all the time? Because fuck you all the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm like always like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. It's me, me, me. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to be an outlier. I'm not going to go the path. I'm going to create my own path. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
You know? And so like the more I got to know myself through failing over and over again, and it's specifically what I was talking about in terms of the hell I was in, is because like when I started this work, what inspired me to go on this particular path was I looked at my teachers. And if I'm good at anything, I have a good sense of what's real. And I have a good sense of who has something that I want. Right. And so what I saw in my teachers was a certain capacity to be in reality, a certain capacity to be with problems in a certain way where they didn't necessarily even solve them. They would kind of reveal to somebody like, hey, this isn't a problem at all. You're just relating to it wrong. It's your consciousness that's the problem. And to me, I was like, boom. And along the ride was a certain level of compassion and kindness and tenderness and patience and skillfulness that I'd never experienced before. So I looked at my teacher and I said, day one, I was like, how did you get like this? And she was like, well, doing this work for 22 years. So I was like, okay, because I'm insane. I was like, I'm going to do just that for as long as you said. And I'm 15 years into that. All right. So again, what I do is I said, okay, well, if I have to do this healing work all day long and get better, and if every session I do, which is an hour, is a way to work this path consciously, and that's a way to work this path, well, this is the most efficient way. I have to create a spiritual business. I have to start a practice. So I would do hours and hours of healings every day. And it didn't work out great at first. I lived out of my car. I abandoned everything. I lost most of my friends. Like it was, like some people look at me and go, oh, such grace in your path. And I'm like, you must not know me, because like this has been a fucking train wreck. Right. But if I have anything besides seeing what's real, is a willingness to never stop showing up. And I believed in what they said, and I lived the teachings, and it never stopped showing up. And I believe that my greatest gift right now to the world is how fucked up I am and how I'm never going to stop showing up, and how that allowed me to keep integrating the work and get the nuance and go, oh my God, dude, that God, you hung in there. You almost fucked that whole thing up. You almost fucked this whole family up that you just created. You almost just left her. It was like left and right, like just barely getting by. Like I always think, like, why does it always have to be so close to the edge? But that's it.
Yeah, man.
Does that answer?
Since I met you, it's just like the roller coaster of a life.
It's literally, it's because I'm so fucked up, man. Like it's the wounding, it's dealing with it's all of the ways that I was trying to save myself, and I didn't know how to tolerate what was here in my life to find a better relationship to it. So, and here's the problem. This is where it's going to sound egoic, but it's not. I was charismatic enough, and I built my whole life to be perfect. So in my 20s especially, I looked so good, man. I had a perfect body. I was attractive. I could talk. I was like just low level magic left and right, just seducing, convincing, assuming power, right? It was just a strategy just so doomed to fail. And it did. Right?
Yeah, you can there's a lot of things you can do as you're like a charismatic, like traditionally good looking white dude. Like it's at that age, yeah. I think there's a difference of like, I'm very aware, and I think you are now too, like of the power of my charisma. And it's part of the reason why I like stopped broadcasting myself in this manner, like doing the podcast thing, because like after making like a few mistakes or having those moments of like, oh, I got duped, or like I said something that was like just genuinely just like not true. Also being someone who's very hard and self-critical, was probably overkill, but I was like, I can't be talking about this shit unless I know what I'm talking about. Right. And I'm out here talking about trying to create a whole new reality for people, being like, hey, everything's a lie, a conspiracy, and actually it's something else. But the amount of work it takes to actually be educated in a real manner to explain things to people is a responsibility that I think a lot of people did not care about as much in the podcast wave. And again, this isn't me I'm also not trying to be like, oh, I'm envious of like, oh, I quit podcasting and then podcasting became the most popular thing ever. It was something I needed to do. Like I needed to step away and like really deeply self-reflect and like actually try to educate myself in a real way. And that's the kind of like double-edged sword of this all is true education is actually educating on yourself on something. You'll realize that like you actually there's more things you don't know, right? Like, oh, I want to learn about this. And by learning about that, I've learned here's 10 more things that I have no clue about. And now I have to learn about
Yes.
these 10 things. And it just keeps, so it's a humbling experience. And so trying to
Yes.
come into relationship with being in that humbleness, um, but still like talking about these things confidently
That's
and
right.
knowing what I say. There's a lot of things I may not know the answers to, but there are a lot of things where I can tell you that's definitely not the answer, right?
Hmm.
I can
Yes.
definitely be
So
like I don't know what is true, but I know that is not true. And that's
yes.
kind of like the process that I have found myself falling into over and over again throughout the years.
Well, number one, it speaks to your integrity, right? A lot of people would keep defending against that humiliation and keep going and keep doing their
Mhm.
thing and try to keep manipulating people and win people over. And they go further and further away from who they really are into false self territory, into being
Exactly.
whatever they need to be to get whatever they want. And then they become addicted, depressed, exhausted, bored, so on. Right.
Yeah.
And it's only because the true self isn't coming along for the ride. So some part of you sense that, right? Um, I don't know. I forgot the other parts that I was going to say, but it's like, is it, this is about like living your path. And I really believe that there is always going to be a mode of communication when you're ready for it. Right. So, yeah, we got into podcasting in the beginning. It was cool. It was the wild, wild west. I had no business having 40,000 listeners a week for 151 weeks. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because, I was insane. I was insane. But the reason why people stuck with me, yeah, I remember what I was going to say too. The reason why people stuck with me is because I went on the healing path and they saw very real transformation week to week. They saw how I was meeting how crazy I was and how I was willing to be humiliated by it live on the air. That was an
Mhm.
impulse that I had at the beginning. I said, I'm going to share everything and I'm going to let myself be humiliated if I am because I'm so committed to the truth. And that's the truth. Right. And it was. I played it out. And by the time I had gone through enough training to have a healing practice because somebody had listened to me go through that transformation, they wanted that. And then I had a healing practice. And what's coming up so much in my healing practice these days is yes, all of art, all of life is art, but also when you have enough of an intimate relationship with what's going on, there is a right and wrong. You've gone through enough patterns, enough times where you can say, I can't go back to this guy or girl, where I shouldn't be living with my mom because she's poisoning me. Or, I can't take this job again, even though all the money is there, because I
Mhm.
need to be an artist, and a lot of people, that's like a real moment of, conflict in them where you have to face like the great unknown. And I think a lot of us that are able to talk, like you and I, for example, I think we're in a very privileged position to have been able to pull this off, frankly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I say that all the time. Like to be in a position of whatever this is, someone who's doing like self exploration or self growth, or even, me and my more professional political side of things, being a quote unquote activist is often a privilege. Like to have the ability to have access to education, to have financial means where I've had spaces in my life where I can not have to work all the time, right? And actually have time to be with myself and do things that force me to grow and give me the opportunity to change my view of things, change my view of the world, view of myself. Like so many people don't ever have that opportunity, right?
And as I'm listening to you, I'm looking at the time and I'm going, damn, dude, we could just keep talking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what I'm thinking is we could keep talking. And also the point of this live stream for us at least was to play a little bit and get a
Yeah,
sense of what it would be like to bring a video in to like, something that we're looking at, something we're exploring. Do you want to try that? Just kind of see what that's like, just
for
to kind of
sure.
bring something in and see if everything falls apart.
Yeah.
Unless
Let's do it.
again, unless you were onto something, you want to keep riffing, I'm happy to, because God, I'm in such a place in my life where I could talk forever about anything, and just use the consciousness that I've been working on for the last 15 years just to bring that in. You want to talk about seeds? Great. You want to talk about like painting your house? Cool. Let's do it. We'll all grow and cry together, you know?
Let's do it. Do you have any ideas for videos you were thinking
Let
about?
me, let me run you down some kind of see what catches you. Okay. So, before this, I kind of wrote down all of my most recent like YouTube videos, like YouTube channels that I visit all the time.
Mhm.
And I'll throw you through like the first two right here. Actually, the first three are all military channels, meaning there's a guy who runs something called Different Breed TV, and he's basically a channel of a guy. He's a combat medic, and he goes on the Ukrainian front lines and he fights the war. And this YouTube channel is about showing different videos and different military tactics, what works and what doesn't, to try to encourage people to, if you're thinking about going on the front lines, to be educated before you do it. So he's actually he's like a streamer too, right? So his head is in the bottom of the screen and he's watching other military videos because this is the first time in history that we're live streaming wars and genocides. And we're watching from a fucking
Yeah.
live cam. I'm watching guys defend themselves against Russians in the basement of a house for 48 hours while
Mhm.
drones are coming down, and they can't even light a cigarette or leave a water bottle out because they're constantly scanning the fucking ground. And as soon as they see a water bottle there that wasn't there 3 days ago, they spend the next 3 days sending $50,000 worth of drones on that location until they're dead, right? And like these are the kinds of channels where you learn 500 Russians are dying a day.
Yeah.
Millions of Russians have died so far. 500 a day. The average lifespan of a Russian that's been coaxed and forced onto the front line is 12 days. It's a fucking meat grinder, man. And this is
It's
being
absurd.
live streamed, and Ukraine is over here like becoming like the tip of the democratic spear, holding the
Mhm.
fucking flame, and developing new technologies. Like they're now the leaders in warfare because they've developed all these new like ways to basically hold the line because Russia is throwing millions and millions of guys at them. Some of them are riding donkeys and horses and tricycles. It's
Insane.
so crazy. The tanks are all exploded. There was just a new frontline assault where like 40 tanks exploded, 40 motorcycles went down because Ukraine is just sending drone after drone after drone because they've mastered this warfare. And what's Russia's approach? Here's why. Actually, Russia has a big top-down military approach, meaning it's like Putin, this guy who's fucking insane, and because he's insane and he's been in power for so long, he constantly has to check to see if he's still so powerful. So he's always pushing his boundaries and trying to
Mhm.
take over something because otherwise he's going to be all paranoid because he is. So like the information has to go up to him, and so like the Russians are sent into the meat grinder. They all die within days. Every single one of them dies. And what's the report? The report is all success down here, sir. Everything's going well because they don't want to get shot in the head either.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
Putin's like, send more in. And then more Russians go in and they die, right? Because it's such as this communication is so fucked, right? So it's literally, we're in a situation where we're live streaming 1 million people getting blown up every day. Right. And to me, I can't believe it. So I
Yeah.
only watch the YouTube stuff because the YouTube stuff doesn't show the bad stuff, right? Okay, they won't, you'll get demonetized and so on, right? But you can see the tactics. And I'm a guy who likes to be in the trenches. When I played football, I was offensive line, defensive line, no glory there. Just hard work, smashing skulls, getting the work done, letting someone else catch the ball, get the touchdown, right? And that has transferred into everything I do. So I have so much I'm just so interested in people that are sitting in a hole, not for 3 weeks, not for 3 months, for 3 fucking years, for 3 fucking years. And
Yeah.
if you get out, you're dead. That's it. So what do you do? There's no medic that's coming anymore. There's no one that's going to catch you. Why? Because that's going to get blown up. Why? Because there are drones everywhere and it's fucking Skynet. There's drones that could drop a grenade. The drone's just going to go right in and blow you up. There's drones that will go there and sit there for a while and then blow up later. There's drones that are on the ground like, meh, 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 meh. What am I going to blow up now? Right. And Russia's just terrorizing Ukraine, just blowing up civilian hospitals, elementary schools, apartment buildings, and Ukraine's holding back and just getting better, getting better. So anyway, that's me. That's those YouTube channels,
Yeah.
right? Here's how
Yeah.
to survive in the military there. I don't know if that's appropriate for anybody except for me, but that's what I Then
No,
there's go on,
I'm
go
very
on.
connected to that because my great grandfather was a Bolshevik in the Russian Revolution, the first Russian Revolution against the Tsar, Tsar Nicholas before Lenin. So he was like part of the Lenin Revolution. He's a part that part of Ukraine, and he was like on the Tsar's kill list and had to flee. And like his cousin was a priest, and so his cousin like dressed him up as a undercover as a priest and fled to America.
Mhm.
So yeah, that whole area has just been a mess forever. Like,
Mhm. But, you know,
uh,
they did have freedom of speech at one point, you
yeah,
know? Sure, there was a time, right? And that's why it is important to take a look at what's going on now. We don't need to get so specific like I do with the trenches and stuff. That's just what I'm attracted to because I can't believe that human beings still do this. It breaks my heart, you
yeah,
know?
it's like the trench
But
warfare of
also,
World War One.
yeah, man. Yeah, but it's so much worse. Like really, like this actually it's one of the things that the best YouTube channel, if you want to dive into this, it's actually very well done. It's called CivDiv. Let me see if I can do it. It's uh yeah, CIVDIV. And it's a guy that's been out there for years. He knows what he's doing. He's still in touch with everybody that's on the front lines. And he breaks down, here's how to survive out there right now. Life is hell for Ukraine, for the Ukrainian front line. Because it's so crazy. We still have to have guys out there holding spaces, right? Because we need that. And but the thing is, if they move, they're dead. So like, what do you do? That you put a thermal blanket on you and you just run, 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 and then you try to get into another hole, dig another hole, and then you live there for a year. It's insane, man. And these guys are doing like real fucking heroes. You know, breaks my heart. So that's the stuff that I watch, you know, just to kind of ease myself into sleep at night. But then there's other things, other cool
Yep.
things like uh like Dr. G explains. This is a guy I've been really getting into. He was a like a terrorist investigator. I don't know what the name is right now. I'm a little tired, but basically the channel is about reading body language, right?
Mm.
And he was a criminal expert. He understands how it works, and he's learned how to read body language and just open up questions and possibilities based on what somebody's doing. And I'm just at the moment I'm fascinated by it because it's a syntax, right? It's a way of looking at the world that I haven't integrated into my life yet, and there's so much information there. You know, I'll be sitting with a client and I notice that my chin is down. And I'm like, ooh, I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm guarding my vulnerable neck. Right. So I'll open my chin up again so that I present vulnerability to my client and I'm open again. Right.
Mm.
So I learned stuff like that. And he analyzes all the lawyer stuff and all the civil stuff that's going on, the legal stuff with what Trump is doing. Like it's insane. And all the like the interrogations that we do with Pam Bondi, you know, he looks at, okay, is this murderer having remorse or are they just playing the system? He breaks that down, little 10-minute videos. And those are really fun. Then
I
there's
wonder I wonder the study of like body language science. Like, I wonder how they like started that. Right, started the study of that.
what comes from just observation, right? If you really become spiritual, meaning you understand your consciousness and how life works, if you have a problem, you could go out into nature, wonder about your problem, keep observing nature, and you'll get your answer. It's a fact. You'll get your answer. And that's because the answer is already here because there's no problem. The problem is how you're relating to it. It's your consciousness that's the problem. There are no problems on the deepest level. Yes, we do need to fix certain things that are broken. So if their arm is broken, I should put it in a cast. I don't need to pray on it, right? So fix that problem, right? But on a deeper level, there are no problems. It's our consciousness and how we're relating to the problems that's a problem. And so this information is embedded in everything. It's why things like when you do it right, numerology and astrology actually can be quite helpful because you're
Mhm.
looking at relationships or information that is embedded in symbols and ways
Mhm.
that we are communicating with language, which gives form. All form has consciousness, all consciousness has quality. And this is what's always intermingling with reality and creating an interdependent way, codependent origination, so on. Right. So if you know how to listen, you know where you are and what's going on. So my philosophy is get as much syntaxes, understand as many languages that reality expresses itself that make sense, that are real, because there's many syntaxes that are bullshit. And then you just know more. You're just located, right? Body language analysis doesn't answer everything, but it does inform you. Why are they being so vulnerable around this?
It's a
Why are
piece.
they opening their eye? Why are they saying, look at me when I say this and don't look at me when I say that? What's that about?
Mhm.
Right? How are they relating to what they're saying? It's another runway. It's another, like you said, it's another piece. It's another syntax. And the more syntaxes as human beings that we can integrate, the more the world will speak to us. You know?
Yeah,
Here's what I'd love.
I like that.
Did you watch The Elephant Graveyard?
That's yes. I was literally thinking about that. I was like, Elephant Graveyard.
Dude, that's even just 5 minutes of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
which
yeah,
one I'm
yeah, yeah.
talking about.
Dude, he nails this.
A work of
Nails
genius,
it.
timeline changing work of art.
Shook the whole comedy scene.
Yeah.
They shook them all.
Oh yeah. Humiliating
Yeah.
in the healthiest possible way. Let's see who meets it. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna do shift to this. All right. I'm gonna do share screen. Share screen.
How many listeners do we have, by the way? Just kidding.
0. All right. Is this add to stage?
Yes.
How do I make it come through? Why is it not? Is it blocking me?
I see you clear. Everything seems perfect right now on my end. I'll fill the space.
Yeah.
You know,
So
this is one of the, yeah, you do it.
yeah, this is like so perfectly laid it down. The one I've been saying for years, and I remember listening to Rogan and Duncan when Duncan was like, "Don't you ever like get nervous that this platform that you've created, it's you have access to millions of people's minds, and that someone's going to come along and like try to manipulate you and try to spread their agenda by seeing how such a like good like kind person you are and manipulate that." And that shit just makes me so sad because
You
that's what
know,
like I don't hate Rogan. I'm just like disappointed. It sucks.
well, this is a place of his unfolding, right? I actually trust in Rogan, meaning I trust that he's going to let himself be humiliated by this. I really do. I hope he does, because all it does is show where he got caught, where he got lost, where he fell into a false clarity. You know what I'm saying? And this
Yeah.
this happens to everybody, and he's doing it with $1 billion, with a bill. It's just a lot more stakes are on the line with him, and so this should humiliate him into a healthier position. And if he moves through it effectively, he could be a force again. I believe. I really do. I really do. And also at the same time, maybe it's the end, and maybe you should go do archery. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we do I have my theories. I want to hear like theories of like where you think it shifted. Not to like speculate, but yes to speculate. But
I don't think it's one
I
thing.
wonder
I think
what
it's a gradual. I think it's a gradual process
yeah.
of becoming more and more seduced by your stories,
And
becoming more
wealth.
and more in a bubble, right? I think it actually. I think most likely those of us that aren't on a conscious spiritual path, we probably all are going to fall into this at one point or another. And the more charismatic and powerful ones of us can create that bubble. Right? I mean, that's what they're talking about here in this
Mhm.
this YouTube video that we're going to say, right? The most powerful and charismatic people are going to bring us into their reality, right?
Yeah.
And you'll see how he breaks this down, how brilliant it is, because he's talking about the most fundamental. I should maybe talk about this after we watch it for a little bit, but the whole setup for this, in my opinion, is he's talking about on the most fundamental level as human beings, when we can't tolerate our lives as they are, we're going to save ourselves by creating something else, imagining another reality that we can get to that's better than where we are now, where things are better and our problems are solved. And this is what I meant in my 20s. I was charismatic enough where I could keep doing that until that strategy had worn itself out. And when that strategy wears itself out and we become humiliated, that is a very powerful spiritual moment. It's actually a spiritual koan where the young boy says to the wise old man, why am I doing all of this work? And the wise old man says, to grow weary and tired. And what he's talking about is your ideas of reality, your strategies that are no longer working, your stories that have kept you so comfortable. It's a humiliating process where your whole life starts to break down, but it's a rebirth if you can meet it. It's a shattering, right? And so I actually feel bad for him. And of course, I'm annoyed with him too because of what he did. But I see it. I get it. I'm going, okay, well, this is the way it is. And there you have it. Let's see how it plays out. Tune in.
The greatest source of our suffering is the lies we tell ourselves. I always remember that quote.
That's right. That's right.
Well,
let's play this.
All that comedy investigation into the rise of the comedy czar's hell world was exhausting. I had to get the hell out of there.
So I've been
out at my cabin just trying to think about something else for a change. Problem is, there's no free will, and I don't really get to choose what to think about. Been thinking about a lot of different things, but seems like for every question I try to answer, I end up with 10 more. It's getting ridiculous. But mostly the question that still haunts me every day is, how did comedy get so shit? Was it ever good? Why the hell do I even know who this guy is? And why for a moment, before my brain kicks in, does it seem normal that he's hanging out inside that sacred...
All right, we're already... Look at this guy's face. Oh my God. I practice nonviolence, and he brings me to my edge. Him and his brother... Dude.
The worst.
So there's another channel we're going to bring at some point. We're going to bring it in because Dave Weiss is a big part of our journey. And he's the tip of the spear for the flat earth movement. And every 6 months or so, I go on Professor Dave Explains, his YouTube channel. He's got millions of followers. The guy's brilliant. He's got all the right connections. He knows how to put things together. He's very grounded, and he would just fucking shatter your conspiracy mind. Right. And I say this as somebody who's very conspiracy minded and has a lot of love for conspiracy, that came from there. What he does to these two guys, the Weinstein brothers. Oh, my God. And his shattering of Dave Weiss's world has over 6 million views right now. Have you ever seen this?
No, this is someone who who debunks Dave Weiss.
Dude, he did a live debate with Dave Weiss, and it's got over 6 million views. But this guy, that's a normal day for this guy, Professor Dave. Professor Dave is the man. He drinks whiskey, and he'll just blow your fucking illusions to shreds and bring you back to reality. And he is so, I actually, it took me a long time to tolerate him because he's such an asshole. He's like, you are a fucking moron, and here's why you're a fucking idiot. And he would just bury you. And you see Dave Weiss, he's like, why are you so mean? Dave's like, why are you so mean? And every 6 months, because I love Dave, man. I love Dave so much, but obviously we couldn't continue the show because he was living in a different reality, right? He was what we're going to see in this video now. So every 6 months I do watch him and Dave debate because it's pure cinema, man. It is okay. So I'm going to introduce you to Professor Dave Explains next. And I'm telling you, this is all right. We're finding our way. We'll stay away from the military.
Of the comedy universe, the comedy mothership green room.
How hard we laugh in that green room, and
it's the most fun.
And the best thing about the green room is how restrictive it is.
Oh yeah, I love restrictions.
That you just can't go in there. You got to earn that spot in the treehouse. And so anytime you open the door, you'll see some of the best comics alive. That's our little space, man, and it is the greatest thing on earth.
It's just impossible to make sense of anything going on here. and I can't help but feel like I must be living on another planet. I needed guidance. You know that our cerebral comedy guru, David Lucas, once told us that after his shows, we'd be thinking a lot.
My jokes are very cerebral. So if you come to my show, I might say a lot of crazy shit, but on your drive home, you're gonna be thinking a lot.
And his wisdom is kind of what sparked this whole investigation into the comedy world, but I knew I needed to start thinking even more. So I wanted to go out and see David's act, and hopefully start to try and put all these disordered puzzle pieces together, to understand what's really going on at the heart of it all. Now, there's a lot of great stages out there, but for me, my favorite venue in the entire world, hands down, is a legendary Massey Hall in Toronto. Its stage has been graced by the presence of the most iconic, influential, and beloved artists of multiple generations. Gordon Lightfoot, Oscar Peterson, Charlie Parker, Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, Patsy Cline, Bob Dylan, Ella Fitzgerald, Aretha Franklin, Rush. Now, I don't know who any of these people are, but my dad says they're very important.
I'm gonna jump for you a couple minutes so we don't get like pulled.
You sure?
Yeah,
you know, it's funny. I was just writing down in my notes. What is fair use? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm like.
So
I don't know.
First of all, I don't want to jump. I don't want to jump.
Okay.
I don't want to miss a thing because every piece of this is a work of art.
Okay.
Yeah, and so
I
think
I'm like, man, everything a part of this is fucking perfect.
It really is.
And you need the whole thing.
Yeah, and maybe we can jump around and it would work. But I actually, right now, I don't want to take the chance. It would be fine if this live stream gets pulled. We have zero listeners.
Who cares?
So here's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But you have to understand, okay? So like, there's a lot of huge streamers that I only know about because I also watch Asmongold from time to time. And listen, I don't, I have a lot to say about Asmongold, but he's like my junk. He's like my junk food. If I want to laugh at his opinions and his false clarity, it fucking cracks me up. And he's in tune with a certain like he eventually he watches all the videos that I'm watching anyway, because we're on the similar stream in terms of like what's like pop culture funny and interesting and so on, right? So I watch on his videos all the lawsuits that are going on with this fair use stuff, right? So this is the best I know. I'm not a lawyer. I have no idea about any of this. I watch Asmongold's content about a lawyer who talks about the fair use stuff. That's what I know, right? Yeah. So basically, probably a lot, but nothing that can stand up in court. Anyway, there are some people that will just play the video and walk away for an hour.
Yeah.
Go to the bathroom and come back an hour later.
We'll only get pulled we'll probably only get pulled if this somehow goes viral, but
we're not, that's what I'm saying. We're not big enough.
Right.
We're not big enough. And so hold on, but also before we go on, we do have to find, I think it's a rhythm, right? Like if every minute or two, you and I just go, okay, and then we go again. I think that's enough. Really, more than enough.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
Let's let it ride.
I saw my first ever stand-up comedy show there, Jerry Seinfeld, when I was just a wee lad. It's the oldest and most iconic venue in Canada, and performing there has long been considered a landmark event in one's career. And finally, in 2025, the strength of her stage's mythical hardwood planks would truly be put to the test, as the killers of Kill Tony, including massive comedy success David Lucas,
I'll put my hand in my ass and make you smell it.
would be taking the stage for what promised to be a wonderful comedy event.
So I watched the
pause
show.
this for a sec? When it was over.
What do you think about Kill Tony?
I can see where there are funny parts. I think Tony sucks. Tony sucks. There's a few people there that are funny that like come through and like get past or whatever it is. But I don't know. A lot of it was just like, probably depends on the episode and who the guest, but a lot of times it's just like saying shock value shit, which I think is just like played out.
Yeah, I mean, it's lazy shit. It's dumb. I lost you. Oh, I got a call. I got a call. Let me make a note. That's going to happen.
Mhm.
in our live stream, so I have to somehow
You
cancel
didn't
that.
you didn't get popped off.
That's
You
good
didn't
because I just clicked on Zoom to get back to the Zoom call that I thought I was on.
yeah.
Fuck. Okay. So
But, like, no, it's hack shit, and, like, if there was a comedian who went and, like, did rallies for Biden and, like, endorsed Biden, and it was, like, kissing Biden's like, everybody in the comedy scene would be like, brown noser, pussy, like, without a doubt, everyone would be saying it. Like these guys are losers, sniffing up the power. But because it's Trump, for some reason, there was like this cultural pigeonholing of the fact that he was already president. And this time through, everyone was acting like he's an outsider still, when I'm like, was literally already the president. And everyone's like just bringing him on and trying to make him seem like he's just one of the boys.
right. And thank God they did that, because Trump's a great man and the White House is doing all the right things. And you really, like, we need
Thank
to,
you for your service, Tony.
it's right. We need to rally behind these guys. And anyway, I just wanted to make sure that was clear. I would say, like, I would love to be able to think of myself as like a clear thinker and a guy who knows what's going on and can make the right choices, right? But then I'm presented with something like Kill Tony, and it took me like a really long time to come to the conclusion that I had about it, which was, this doesn't feel good. Like, I don't like what they're doing here. Like, this is just, I feel it in my gut, like in my belly when I'm watching. Like, I'm like, something about this isn't right. It's not right. Like, you're fucking making fun of people. You're just shitting on people in a way that's not creative and intelligent.
Yeah.
It's not funny. You're just
Not
fucking
funny.
mean, right?
It's just not funny.
Like,
yeah.
and I'm which is a part of why this work of art that we're watching is so important, because he lays it down so clearly, and he's about to. But I just, like, it came to me, but here's what I'm saying. The only reason why I finally said, okay, right, yeah, I can settle in on that and believe that in myself, was because Bill Burr actually was on at one point, and he was like, this is like, you're shitting on people that are trying to like have like a comedy career. I'm not into this, and I know there's a lot
give
of
them 1 minute to do, like, you can't do anything with 1 minute.
You're set up to just get shit, to have these fucking egos just shit on you, and it's just like, dude, like, it again, I feel it in my gut. That's what I listen to, and I go, this is not okay, right? But I guess what I'm saying is, like, it took Bill Burr to say it for me to be like, oh, right, yeah, I can say that too. And that's something I'm looking at myself. I'm like, why can't I?
Why do I need permission?
Yeah, what I'm saying, like, why couldn't I come to that conclusion? Because there's like this, it draws you in, right? Everybody's into it, right? We're gassing the Jews. Everyone's got to gas the Jews. I don't know why I went there, but, like, it's like one of those things where it's like, it draws you in, And play the video. I'm so sorry I said that.
No, it's 100% correct. It's just not. It just doesn't. I've never, like, understood it. Like, I understood, like, how there was funny parts and how certain people, like, came up through it, and, like, oh, that person got discovered through Kill Tony. I understand that. And there's probably, like, funny moments, but just, like, the whole structure and infrastructure of how it works just has always felt like lazy. I don't know.
Right. It seems lazy because it's from an unhealed egoic perspective,
and it's
right?
all because it's like, Kill Tony. It's about Tony.
Let's let this fucking genius lay it out. That's exactly what we're saying. Yeah. All right. Let's rock.
You know what? He was right. I was thinking a lot. I was thinking about how bizarre it was that these low-level, no offense, but subhuman cretins were able to perform at such a hallowed theater, wondering perhaps if I was the fool for giving the venue such reverence all these years. I pictured the ghosts of all my heroes standing on stage behind David, shaking their heads, not at David, but at themselves for being such fools, for thinking that making it to that iconic stage had meant something to them, that it meant something about their career, their art, and about the legacy they've left behind after they died. Poor Gord. I hated to see that. Seeing David's show only made me feel more confused about what the hell is going on with all this comedy stuff. And on that drive home, I really was thinking, why does everything that ever seemed good, like when I was a kid, now seems to be rapidly deteriorating into utter shit? And when I looked around at the other people in attendance at that show, evidently enjoying themselves, why did it feel like I was in another dimension? I tried putting a comedy podcast on, but all of them were just interviews with like the CIA or the FBI or some other guy that works for the president. Like, what the hell was actually going on
pause
here?
here. Pause
I
here.
couldn't relax until...
Okay. So another guy in Stand Up New York Labs was Tim Dillon. Right? So we all know Tim Dillon. Right? I knew Tim Dillon before Tim Dillon exploded and he became Tim Dillon. I knew Tim Dillon when he was the guy that gave New York City bus tours to people.
The best.
And he was the
stories.
greatest. He was the greatest New York City bus tour person ever if you were willing to let him be himself. Right? I mean, he was exactly as he is on his podcast, giving you the New York City bus tour, and it was outrageous. Outrageous. It's what I heard. I never took the tour, but from people that took the tour, they said this guy's outrageous, right? And I used to see him because my best friend's Mike Cannon, and he's a comedian, professional comedian. So I was always in the comedy world, and I was always thinking, should I do this? Should I not do this? But I love to drink, so I was just always at the bars anyway. And I happened to have a show in the comedy scene, so I was always there, and I was always with these guys.
Yeah.
I don't know what I want to say. I mean, maybe I'm just bragging that I know Tim Dillon. This is not really what it's about, but I'm bummed out. I'm bummed out by the whole thing, about where everything has gone. And at the same time, I suspect this is a part of the mixing and mingling of reality where comedy is meeting the times and meeting people's desire for money and what it takes. You know what I love about this? Anthony Jeselnik. Have you ever heard what he has to say about this? Mark Maron is very outspoken right now, but Anthony Jeselnik would say, like, if you're going to cancel a comedy show to go rush and have an interview on your podcast with a politician, you're not a comedian.
Yeah.
And that to me, I was like, yes. Go on, please.
That's the thing. It's transformed. These guys aren't comedians, they're podcasters. Like, they run radio shows. That's their number one job. And then they happen to do stand-up. It's 100% like, it's part of the following the money, living a life as a comedian, coming from where those guys were coming from. It's tough living. They ain't making a ton of money. And then this podcast boom comes along. And again, like, if you're not in a relationship with it, like, I'm not sure many of them were expecting it. They're like, oh yeah, let's do this thing. I don't think any of them were expecting like they would become millionaires from this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, spend a couple $100 on recording equipment and just upload it. And then next thing you know, you're making thousands and thousands of dollars an episode. And
you're having dinner with JD Vance.
Yeah. And it's
that's right.
When do you have the awareness of, when does the awareness kick in of how much influence you have? Right.
Well, what really speaks to the character of the person.
Yeah.
Where their consciousness is. Like, what are you doing here? Mm-hmm. Where are you coming from? Like, what are you actually doing here? Like, why are you a comedian? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, and in my healing practice, I'll see comedians show up. We work through stuff. They become big and they realize, oh, I'm still unhappy. Right. And those are the ones like Theo Von who are trying to save themselves by becoming big and famous. Right. The idea is when I become big and famous, I'm going to be saved by all my suffering. And then they get there and they're really fucking bummed out. Right. That's a big moment. It's a big moment when you can start to get gut checked and you start to say, oh, okay, this strategy has grown weary and tired, like I was saying earlier. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm so good at this that I took it as far as becoming one of the greatest at something. And it's still not giving me what I want. What do I want? I want my mom and dad to love me. That's what I want. That's it.
Yep.
You know? And and here we go. The world goes round and round and round. And people are sending rockets into Ukraine. And the world goes round and round. And people are starved in other places. And the world goes round and round. And mom never loved me. And so on. Hit play.
Yeah.
I figured it out. In my quest for clarity, I even, and I'm ashamed to admit this, but I even went on the sacred pilgrimage to Comedy Mecca and visited the Comedy Spaceship down in Austin, Texas. I paid about $800 for a ticket. My ticket said something about a mandatory drink, but I'd lost the stub and couldn't remember how many I was dictated to have. The vibe in there was so tense, I thought I might get literally shot in the head if I did anything wrong, so I drank about 8 Negronis just to be safe. I went to find the washroom, and when I got there, to my dismay, I discovered that Joe, the comedy czar, had actually removed his own special from the Comedy Wall of Fame that he put up there. Maybe he just got embarrassed after we pointed it out, but I think it's the first sign that he knows his scheme is at risk of being exposed and he's begun to hide his tracks. But anyway, I watched the show. It was, fine, I guess, but, it really couldn't compare to the pleasure I experienced releasing those 8 Negronis into the toilet pipe. The armed guards at the door stole my phone and placed it in a locked bag, so I wasn't allowed to take any more photos, so I sat there drawing a picture of what I was witnessing on the free napkin that came with my Negronis. Now we've been getting a lot of feedback saying that we are very negative, so here's something positive about the experience. The show is only a couple hours long, which for $800 is insane, but it's so boring that it feels like it's about 5 or 6 hours, so that improves the value at least. As you walk into the room, you're reminded of 2 of the most horrific acts of brutality ever committed. Which is good because when you're thinking about what happens when an atomic bomb blows up over your head, it makes the terrible show you're witnessing seem like an okay alternative. No idea who the comics were. Who cares? They were shit. And of course they were, we already knew that. What we want to find out is why or how. But the vibe was very bad in there, very negative, and so I got the hell out of there and began walking down 6th Street, where a horde of scary, methed-out ghouls began to oogle me, which, compared to the vibe in the Comedy Spaceship, was honestly much more welcoming. And that's when I saw it. In the alleyway behind the mothership, a flock of comedy pilgrims had gathered, lining up. They told me they had traveled from all over the country for their chance to win 1 minute of stage time there, their opportunity to climb the ladder to a higher tier class of human, a real comedian. I couldn't believe how many of them there were. They were all over the place, living in their cars, in tents. So many comedy.
Yeah, it's kind of like Jerry Springer for comedy, like bringing people on to just, they might, or like Dr. Phil, where like something, it's very exploitive in some ways.
Yeah, say more. Bring me up to speed.
I would say not
foggy.
as much like people coming all over the place to go on Till Tony, and then they like go up there and they just get like shit on, be like, you fat bitch, like, and stuff like that. And then it's like, okay, that's it. And then, very similar to like how, like, you ever like watch the Jerry Springer documentary of like how they would bring these like people in incredibly vulnerable places. And
that's right. Okay. So I totally get what you're saying. Right. And the thing is, you can feel this.
Yeah.
Right. You can feel it. There's a difference between somebody who is loving and willing and nurturing and supportive and is just, helping you be better.
Yeah.
And they can be critical without being sharp and painful. Or if it is painful, they're going to be very careful and tender around that territory so that you can receive what you need to receive from them and get that and grow and transform and see yourself. Right. Let's talk about this Kabbalistically speaking, right? Not to go so crazy about it, but what I love about Kabbalism, I was growing up Catholic. I'm not even a religious guy, but the Kabbalists were insane in terms of how specific they organized reality, right? And the way they organize reality, if you look behind me, you have a tree of life right here. Okay. This is a map of consciousness and reality and so on. And the consciousness of Malkut, which is reality itself, or the number 9 in numerology, is the reality of a consciousness that receives and reflects what's here with no opinion, no commentary, no judgment. It's the great mother that holds all things and moves all things towards completion. It's the consciousness of somebody who is willing to be there for you as you are, receive you, and reflect back to you what they see so that you see yourself. In other words, good parents. What we were
Yeah.
supposed to get when we were younger, so that we can say, oh, I'm great, or this behavior was bad. And instead, what did we get? We didn't get this behavior was bad. We got I'm bad. So it goes to shame. It goes past guilt, which is like I did a bad behavior, and it says I'm a bad person, right? And then these people go ahead and create these kinds of setups, and they exploit people, and they just hurt people. They just continue that same dynamic over and over again. And sometimes that's the gatekeeper, right? And some people make it through and some people don't. But the fact is, the whole process feels like I need to take a fucking shower.
Yeah.
I'm going to go pack some nicotine. I'll be right back.
Hell yeah.
Play this. I've watched this 3 times already.
All right.
Pilgrims everywhere, just taking over the entire area. And I started thinking about how the hell all these people ended up here. Started thinking about human migration. Like, how did you end up where you are? No matter who or where you are, at some point, some guy in your lineage looked around and said to himself, I gotta get out of here. Packed up and went to a new place. And with that spirit in mind, I packed my bags and headed home. When I got back to my cabin, I placed a photo of my guru above my typewriter with a sign that said, keep thinking. And that's what I did for several weeks, obsessively, compulsively. And it led me to discover what's actually going on behind all this unsettling comedy stuff. And that we were right to find it so unsettling and evil and vile. And that what we're witnessing with this Austin comedy thing is actually part of a massive operation designed to destroy the entire world. And I know that sounds kind of out there, but as you'll see, that's actually part of their design. I thank my comedy guru David for helping me get my thinking back on track. Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. To answer the question of how comedy got so shit, we need to go back about 375 million years. To the first of those migrations we mentioned earlier. Migration is baked into our DNA, guys. I don't know if you knew that in advance, but I am seeing on my YouTube analytics here that 87% of you only got your grade 10. So, in case you weren't aware, humans began as simple tubes. A mouth and an asshole. Purest form of a proper organism. Just floating in the ocean somewhere, and eventually that tube evolved into this fish kind of thing. And this fish, this was the first in our lineage to become a new guy and to migrate. The ocean where he was all fucked up, and he looked around and said, I gotta get the hell out of here. And he migrated out of the water and onto the land, becoming a land guy. He then somehow transformed into a little rat kind of thing with nipples. And the nipple rat evolved into like a monkey chimp thing or whatever. And then the chimp, or ape or whatever, it became a human guy. And it wasn't long until those human guys, like that fish before them, looked around and said, I gotta get the hell out of here. And they migrated to every corner of the earth. A lot of animals have these built-in mechanisms. We are no different. Just like how birds have like a magnet in their brain or something, which tells them when and where to migrate somewhere else. It's obvious from these historical records that the human instinct to say, fuck this, I gotta get out of here, becomes activated in times of fear. Fear is processed in the most ancient part of our brain, and it puts us into a fight or flight mode, just like the fish guy. And I don't know if you've looked around at the world lately, but people really are losing their shit. The whole world is on fire. There are crazy guys with nukes yelling at each other, and bombs are flying around all over the place. The air is full of smoke. All the fruit just tastes like wood now. We've all got microplastics in our brains. That can't be good. Plus, it's so hot out, I'm gonna piss myself. And don't even get me started on all those politics. What the hell is going on with TikTok? Why is China, doing all that stuff? Why did they close the oatmeal plant down? I wanted to keep working there. Now I got no money. I gotta pay MSRP for my steel cut. Bullshit, man. You know what? And then he says it. F this, I gotta get out of here. Except this time, they've got nowhere to go. Not physically, anyway. But lucky for them, some of humanity's most powerful visionaries, the techno-wizards, have constructed a psychic ark to sail the seas of your mind and take you away from your problems and out onto a new frontier, a new reality. And here's where it gets crazy. It's a reality where there is no such thing as reality.
Lions.
The techno-wizards use their machines to ramp up your own uncertainty about what's real and what's fantasy, to the point where you're so anxious that you do anything just to be certain.
Those guys.
No, it's all ultrasonics and sonics and dimensional super action behind glass screens. You know, if you think of something and bam, it's there in the wall.
Once you've lost connection with classic reality, you're just a guy floating out in the open ocean, desperate to find something to grab onto to save yourself, stranded and surrounded by a sea of danger. That is when the techno-wizards begin their most perverted sorcery.
The future is gonna be amazing!
They throw you a life preserver in the form of a new world, a new virtual world. In this virtual world, you're still going to be angry all the time, but at least you'll be certain, and that feels good. And because it feels so good, you just want to stay in there forever. Until eventually you've been in there so long that your new virtual world feels more real than your old.
So doing it, number one, for fair use, but also because it's worth the time to just kind of bring it back to what we were saying here in terms of that false clarity that we fall into to save ourselves from what's so intolerable within ourselves. This is what happens when you're smart enough, when you have enough privilege or whatever sets up, like whatever the situation that your life that you're born into and talented enough, you can create these other realities that are not real, right? And it's all done to save yourself from your own suffering, right? And it's a problem, right? And this is where, like, the very early on in Rabbit Hole, where I took a step back and I, we had to laugh because it was a comedy show, but really it was horror. It was horrifying to take a look at the people that were moving the world around and realize how wounded they were and how little they understood about their own consciousness, and how the positions of power actually attract people that are like that. And you start to look at our system, and I don't have any answers here. Let me be clear. This is actually something I haven't gotten into yet, right? Mm-hmm. And I hope maybe one day I do, or I find somebody that's already done that work. But it's like, okay, so the system is set up for the people that are most willing to lie and sacrifice themselves and be total fucking assholes, can rise to the top and assume power. Why? Because they want power. Why? Because they feel so small. Why? Because they're so scared. Why? Because mom and dad didn't love them. It always comes back to that simple thing. And like, we're watching it play out on the craziest, most profound way, where everything is live streamed. It's so in our face. And I can only hope that this is going to help wake those of us that can wake up to wake up, right? We can start to see something about what I'm saying, about what you're saying here, about this is how it's playing out. And it's a perfect reflection of our collective unconscious. It's a perfect reflection of what we're doing and not doing. Everything is exactly right. There are no problems. And yet there's so many fucking problems that we have to fix. And there's a major transformation that we have to go through. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I still shifting to the place where, like, there are no problems. That, like, takes a lot of work. It's hard to remember that. It's hard to go through the process to shift where you're seeing, like, all right, it's not the problem. It's my relationship to it.
Let me help.
And not doing it in a way that's like spiritual bypassing. Right.
Right. Yes. So what I'm saying is that the problems that we perceive in our life are not problems only. When we see things as problems only, we're doing a very quick value judgment, and we're saying this thing in my life is not helpful. And we imagine another life that we can get to, and we do everything that we can to solve this problem and get to this other life. That's what this whole video is about how the unconsciousness that drives us through our unconscious capacity to be with our suffering drives us to create another reality that we can get to. And that those of us that are talented enough and have the resources enough can actually bring all of us along into their reality that they've imagined, that doesn't address any of the suffering. So there's no transformation, right? This is biohacking. This is artificial intelligence. This is all of this stuff that we're doing to live forever because we're so scared of death, because we're not in relationship with life itself. We're not with life. Life and death come together. They need each other. They love each other. And we, out of fear and suffering, split them apart, and we choose one opposite over the other, thus creating on every level of being the same suffering over and over and over and over again until we wake up to what I'm talking about right here. That's why something like this is such a work of art, and it's so profound.
Yeah.
Because I could never put something like this together. It's so good.
So good. I think that speaks to like what people say, like it's greed, it's greed, it's greed. I'm like, it's not greed. It's the perceived power that comes along, or the power trip that comes along with imposing your reality on millions and billions of people. Right? Like that greed for, like, I don't only want to have access to all the resources in the world. I want to impose my ideology, my reality on the world. Right?
Let's look at greed. A non-dual take on greed is nourishment turned upside down. In Buddhism, it's hungry ghost consciousness. Hungry ghost consciousness is I'm eating and I'm eating and I'm eating and I'm never full. Why am I never full? Because I'm living through my false self, and my true self, who's vulnerable and scared, is not coming along for the ride. So I'm eating and eating and eating more and more and more. Greed, 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 empire after empire to try to solve this problem I have of suffering. And so I become a hungry ghost, wandering through the ether, eating and eating and eating for all of eternity because I'm out of relationship with who I really am. And who I really am is not coming along for the ride. And let me tell you, man, I got the utmost compassion for people in this predicament. But we got to do something about it when they bring all of us along for the ride, right?
Yeah.
It's like you could suffer in your house and do this shit all day long if you want. But when you bring all of us along for the ride and you start changing our laws and so on, go White House, go White House, go Trump, go Trump. Start doing this stuff. It's a major fucking problem. And I'm going to have to figure out how to set a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Let's hold on. My daughter, this is going to happen. It's going to happen in live streams, and I hope it's okay with you. You know, it's night time. Hey, my love. Hey, my baby. Good night. Come here, baby. Oh, I love you so much. You gonna go sleepy time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sleepy.
I'll see you in the morning.
Okay.
Okay, buddy.
Then why are you putting your headphones?
I got the headphones on because I'm doing a show. Why? She's in the why stage. Everything's why.
Yep.
And I try to answer it.
Try to answer
She goes, yeah. I'm like, she's like, look up at the sky. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, why? like why the sky? And she's like, yeah, why? And I'm like, all right, let me see if I can do this.
Yeah, see how I can do it.
I'm like, why the sky? All right, here we go. You know, the other day I actually think I got it. She's in the back seat when she was doing this. And I was like, why the sky? I was like, okay, well, at some point, something happened. First, there was nothing. And then something happened where there was a little bit more of one thing than another. And because there was more than one thing than another, that set everything spiraling on every level of reality, from galaxies and universes down to the very molecules that we live in and that we're made of. And this imperfection is actually so perfectly set up where, I went for it, you know, because we were talking about clouds, right? And so I was going through the whole cycle of why clouds are there, you know, but she was like, but why? You know, it's like, and that's why there's this cycle. And she's like, but why? And I was like, okay, here we go. You know, so I do try. Anyway,
it's good. She'll get it eventually.
I hope so. If I survive, if I can keep living,
or she'll just be like, or she'll just stop asking you questions.
Yeah, I want mommy.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel safe.
All right, here we go.
That's right.
Classic reality. And once it's become more convincing than classic reality, it just becomes your new reality. Congratulations, you've migrated to a new place. It's a new reality, except it's anti-reality. It's what's called a hyper-real simulacrum.
The battle for the mind of North America will be fought in the video arena.
Yeah.
The television screen is the retina of the mind's eye. Therefore, the television screen is part of the physical structure of the brain. Therefore, whatever appears on the television screen
Pay attention.
emerges as raw experience for those who watch it.
Yep.
Therefore,
Oh, yeah.
television is reality,
Yep, exactly.
and reality is less than television.
There are a lot of visionaries in this world, all with their own ideas about creating new worlds into which we can migrate. But only a few have acquired the wealth and influence to actually execute such migrations at full scale. Movements triggered by everyone saying, "I gotta get the hell out of here," happen all the time. Throughout history, wealthy, influential people have leveraged these waves in order to serve their interests, using their power to direct migrants in or out of places beneficial to fulfilling their goals. Someone we've seen exploiting the "I gotta get the hell out of here" phenomenon is this Elon guy. He was bullied a ton as a kid because he was a strange, scrawny little weak guy who could also be a bit of a dickhead. And so his teachers, his parents, nobody wanted to help him.
Did you have a happy childhood?
No, it's terrible.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Why was it terrible? You were bullied at school and had a
I was
difficult...
almost beaten to death, if you'd call that bullied.
He was shy and awkward at school, didn't have many friends.
On one occasion, Elon was pushed down a flight of stairs and beaten violently, leaving him in hospital for weeks.
And if that wasn't bad enough, and this is something you'll see with almost all of these anti-reality guys, Elon had a very bad dad who left him with a dad-shaped hole in his soul.
Very violent. It was not a happy childhood. My father has serious issues.
When Elon received that severe beating as a kid, his father berated him and blamed him for it, made him stand for hours, called him an idiot, and told him he was worthless. Proper bad dad stuff. All these experiences made Elon internalize the belief that this world is a scary, dangerous place. Wouldn't it be nice to just get the hell out of here? Well, later in life, he acquired an immense amount of wealth and immediately began to use it to try and reconstruct reality, to cope. He put heaps of that money into trying to build this Mars colony thing, which is never going to happen, but that doesn't matter. The real point of his Martian cope is creating a virtual reality to migrate to, one where this colony thing would actually be feasible and he could actually escape the Earth and live on another planet. And that gives him hope that he could actually get the hell out of here. All this crap here, this is all just for Elon to fantasize about getting the hell out of here. Nobody is going to Mars, man. The world is still scary to this guy. He still feels like he's getting bullied when everyone online is telling him he's a loser. That's why he bought Twitter. Everyone on there was being mean, so he just bought the thing so he could control it. Pretended the millions of guys calling him a loser were just bots and trolls, so he could just kick them out and reshape the site into his own ideal version of reality, and then pretend that this simulated version of reality is reality. He wants to be a guy who's great at video games, but he's a total noob. He's the kid that would turn the Nintendo controller like a steering wheel while playing Mario Kart, while his mouth hangs open. Where I come from, we call that Thomasing, but Elon just wants to win something, and he can't play sports because, I mean, look at him. He never had the makings of a varsity athlete. So again, he uses his wealth to just pay guys who are actually good at video games to play the games for him. And then he pretends it's him playing the games. And then he got caught.
There are 4 things there.
And all the actual gamers all started watching him play and laughing at him.
4 things. He clearly has no idea, bro.
And started playing the games himself on stream, but just got harassed the entire time and then pretended his connection dropped so he could get the hell out of there.
Connection lost.
Elon wants him being a hero to be part of his hyper-reality as well. For a while, he was seen as a savior figure, but that illusion evaporated. He tried to reclaim his hero status by inserting himself into the rescue of those 12 Thai kids trapped in a flooded cave. He stuck his nose into the rescue operation.
Just note that moment right here was the moment my Elon bubble bursted when I used to fall for the propaganda.
Listen, I fell for him too for a long time. You know, I was like, oh, this guy's cool. He's different. He smoked a joint on Rogan. Badass.
Yeah.
You know,
this was the first crack in the illusion for me.
So what was it about this? Because like, I don't even think I caught on at this point. I wasn't really following this so much. What was it about it?
I just remember like him being like, "Oh, I'm gonna go over there and do it," and then like the actual rescue people being like, "Bro, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're like making this a PR stunt for yourself. Like, you're not helping at all." And I remember it being like, "That's really embarrassing. Like, why would he do that?"
How did you know that that's what it was? How did you make sense of that information?
I think I just remember like following along on Twitter at the time and like seeing reporters like talk about like the situation and like reporting like what they were saying from, and it's like, and then the Elon haters were like dancing on it, like, "Hey, Elon's an it," like, and then I was like, "Oh, maybe they're right about something." And then it just slowly started to, and then I slowly started to be more critical of him when I kept that in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
That's
that's
the thing. Like I feel like I shouldn't, but I feel so badly for people that are trying to keep up a certain way of how they look. Like it's false self territory. Like everyone works. You use so much energy to be whatever it is that you think you need to be to get whatever it is you think that you want. That's going to save yourself from the suffering we keep talking about. And it's like, God, you're in hell, dude. Like you got a billionaire empire and you are in hell. And yet they're not really in hell because there's a lot of things that they can do and spend money on to like anesthetize themselves, right? You got addicted to drugs and so on, right? But eventually, like fundamentally, these are all strategies that are just doomed to fail because who you are isn't really here.
Yeah.
Doesn't come along for the ride. I'm sensing a theme as to how I'm going to approach all this stuff in our little live streams here. Is it all right with you?
Oh, yeah. Back to it.
Despite nobody asking him to, and offered them an old metal tube from the SpaceX garbage dump that they were throwing out anyway, and telling the actual rescue divers who were down there trying to do their jobs to toss the kids in this tube and pull them out. When the rescue leader told him this is insane and makes zero sense that the tube wouldn't even fit through the intricate cave system, Elon rage quit and called the guy a PDF file.
Thanks, Elon.
He's tried to add being like a funny comedy guy to his hyper-reality, wormed his way into the stand-up comedy world, got on stage with Dave Chappelle and just got booed by an arena full of comedy fans. Rejected again. Even got into the government somehow. Started trying to cut all this funding from everything, hoping they'd give it to him instead to build more spaceships so he can get the hell out of here sooner. But the president also started bullying Elon and ended up taking away his lunch money. And now, Elon's even more messed up, even more desperate to escape, and finding it harder and harder to cling to that Mars colony coat.
With Elon, where I said, Trump doesn't win, I want to just leave the country. And then Elon said, there's nowhere to go. Elon, you don't believe in going to Mars anymore. Elon stopped believing in Mars.
So he's allegedly retreating into a haze of ketamine-fueled escapism, just trying to get the hell out of here. The only way to make sense of all this strange behavior
in the Oval Office.
It is an effort to construct his own hyper-reality into which he can migrate and escape the scary world that rejects him. I actually saw a video of his ex-wife talking about how he does this, and I mean, she would know.
We create a parallel world to escape the world that rejects us, and the world that we find too painful to live in. But some people are so good at doing this and master such an amazing skill set that they take their world and they infuse it into our world.
She knows.
And they change the world.
Exactly.
And these are the people we call visionaries. People who move between worlds.
Exactly, yeah.
Between
Pause
states
this for a
of consciousness.
Elon.
So, like, there are positive and negative visionaries.
Yes.
It depends on where you're coming from. Right? Like, if anybody wants to explore this further, I would introduce you to a guy named Bruce Lipton, who's written a lot of books. He's a molecular biologist, and he's written a lot of books about the spiritual stuff that I'm talking about right now, the consciousness stuff. And he talks about it on a molecular level and how it works with the biology of our bodies and how the 50 trillion cells in our bodies are doing this anyway, and how we participate in that through our vision of the future and so on, and how it's a natural process to have the old guard start to become brittle and old and rigid and fall apart because it's not healthy enough to flex and heal and move and flow with the new information that's coming in, right? So it's really important to just kind of know what's going on here so that we stop electing people that are narcissists, sociopaths, and psychopaths, right? Of course, none of this is happening in the White House, and I support that fully. So that's that.
Support everything about it.
Elon learned firsthand the idea of constructing parallel worlds and hyper-realities during childhood. He grew up in South Africa, a country designed by white guys from Europe who had to get the hell out of there, move to Africa, but then decided they didn't want to have black guys as neighbors. So they created this hyper-reality in which God commanded the white guys to preserve their race or whatever, and they had no choice but to segregate all the black guys in another part of town. Because if God wants it, then, I mean, what can you do? You got to do it. And by getting all the white guys to migrate their psyches into this hyper-reality, it allowed them to do all the heinous shit they had to do to achieve their goals of creating this new society. If you have enough power and influence, reality can be whatever you want it to be, and very few things are going to challenge you.
We have a sort of grasp over the world.
Elon wants to do a full migration into his hyper-reality, but he can't pull it off. It's not believable enough yet. His main problem is that not enough other guys are joining him in his hyper-reality anymore. The more guys you can get to buy into your simulation, the stronger the pillars necessary to uphold the new reality become. Which brings us back to this. This, right here, is irrefutable proof that the comedy spaceship and the entire Austin comedy toilet is a hyper-real simulacrum of an actual comedy scene. The whole scene is ruled by its God King, the comedy czar, Joe Rogan. We already discussed how Joe became the comedy czar in our last video, so go watch that if you don't understand what we're talking about here. The comedy czar rules over his dominion with complete domination, and as you'll see, the entire scene is designed to strengthen and maintain Joe's personal, hyper-real simulacrum. Joe has been sliding into hyper-reality for several years, and is now completely immersed in the simulation. A reality in which he is a very smart, special boy.
My personality that is just immune to bullshit.
He has a unique ability to see what's really going on in the world, and he's helping society by scouting for the otherwise unseen danger up ahead.
I'm like a scout, right? Like if you set me
such a work of art.
and I'm like, hey, there's a cliff. We're running towards a cliff. Stop, everybody stop. There's a cliff! There's a cliff!
He believes the universe chose him as a sort of prophet, destined to help guide humanity through this age of chaos. But just like Jesus Christ, the people misunderstood and rejected him.
Like the universe has put me in this place where I can at least have access to more opinions than most people. And they're like, you're an anti-vaxxer! You don't believe in science!
This is the moment that he started to slip into false clarity.
That was the moment that pushed him over the edge.
He started to believe his own bullshit, right? And he wasn't holding it lightly. The Joe Rogan that came up, the guy that I used to listen to while I was crushing weights in the gym as a 20-year-old, talking about the military industrial complex and these little cuts of him with the great music in the background that get me fired up to start to do something and change the world, right? That guy started to believe his own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why, I believe, he relaxed. It's an energetic thing. When you're not on a spiritual path, and what I mean by spiritual path is a path that encourages you to constantly be pushing yourself to your edges and to use the energy that it takes to hold everything lightly, so that false clarity that we have to use to go through our day-to-day doesn't become the clarity, then you get into trouble. You know what I'm saying? I really think I'm onto something here in terms of how I'm trying to communicate this. You know what I mean? It's like it takes a lot of I got sick for a bunch of years, and when I was sick, I couldn't do this work. It was everything that I could do to sit in a chair and pretend I was on a Zoom meeting to help somebody in a healing or something. You know, I couldn't challenge all my beliefs. I couldn't challenge this or that, but I also didn't put myself behind a microphone for a while, right? And that's because I didn't have the energy that it takes to know what I know and to let myself know that I don't know, and to hold both, to hold it lightly, and to communicate from that humble place. Joe in my opinion, started to believe his stuff. He relaxed. He started to think, of course he would. The whole world loved him. He was the number one podcast in the world. He was the top of the mountain. How hard is that to not be seduced, right? This is why I have the utmost compassion for his situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, what would I do in that situation? I might start to think, you know what? I do know what's right. And because I do know what's right, because I got here, obviously, I'm looking around. Obviously, I'm on the top of the mountain. Obviously, I know what's right. So I'm going to start to tell people what's right because I want to be helpful, right? And then you start to see how wrong you are with how right you are because you weren't holding that conscious awareness. That's it.
Yeah, I just see with him. That's what's so like disappointing about it. It's because it's like I know he's not, evil or any of those. Like, I don't think he's a bad person at all. I think he's irresponsible and like, imperfect. And as this video lays out, someone who has a wound and thinks this is the way to fill it.
Disappointment's the right reaction because he's not wrong. His behavior is wrong. Right? I say to my daughter, we've talked about this enough times. You're not supposed to do that. I'm disappointed that you kept doing that.
Mhm.
Right? It bums me out that you kept doing that.
Mhm.
And then here's a larger fractal of that. Somebody who's no different than my daughter on the most fundamental level, who's playing out his life, who had a behavior because he got lost in his own shit. And we're all bummed out about it. But what happened? The most wonderful guy in the world got elected to the White House, and now everything is great. That's what happened.
And America is saved. Western civilization has been saved.
That's right. That's right. And no doubt about it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's a bummer, but it's like, okay, so this is how life goes. Joe's just like the rest of us, except he had this capacity to get to this great level, and he started to believe his own shit. You know? It's a huge bummer. It's a huge bummer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why, like, towards him, I feel the disappointment because, like, he is a facilitator of something, right? He's not a direct actor. I think his position is he facilitates whatever ideology got put in place, right? So people like people like Shapiro, guys who come on and influence him, those are the ones I'm like, man, fuck y'all.
Well, there's something about that too. I don't know if we can go into it right now, but yeah, like my point is like, this is how it works out with all of us. It's the same mechanics, and this is how it plays out. And every now and then you might find yourself at the top of the mountain, and then you're going to have to deal with these seductions. Then you're going to have to deal with this stuff. You know, I'm looking at Christ here. Deliver us not from temptation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What that is, it's a sleepiness. It's a sleepiness when we start to lose our hold on the way reality is built. And the way reality is built is we don't know everything, but we're working with the best that we got.
Mm-hmm.
And he started to just think, I know everything, and I'm going to do that. Maybe that's what it is. I might correct myself down the line, but you know what I'm saying? There's false clarity because of the power. Like, in my opinion, right, if I was in his position, which I'm not, and from the outside looking in, I would think, my gosh, the bigger I'm getting, the more powerful I'm getting. I have to understand that is going to seduce me. And there's a way that my friend, very good friend, becoming my best friend, William Kern, news journalist, he's a great heart. He always reminds me that his job in my life, this is why I love the guy. He volunteers to play the role in my life of the same guy that would happen with like a general in Caesar's army that had all this power, who would hire a guy to be with him and whisper in his ear, "You're just a human being like the rest of us," to remind him of what we're talking about here. I'm a fool performing this journey. I'm a fool performing this healing. I'm a fool communicating this information. And the moment that we forget that, we've lost true mastery. And we can create some major fucking problems, but nothing like what's going on in the United States right now, because everything right now, the economy, just people are being treated. It's just, it opens my heart.
Never been better. Never been better.
I'm taking in opinions from all directions, 360 degrees.
Nice. All right. Let's see what Joe scouted up ahead on the trail for us today.
I love Canada.
Shut
like,
up.
I love the people. I just think they're going down a dark road with this government.
Uh-oh.
They allow polygamy now in Ontario. Yeah, they just passed a law. They allow polygamy
Aaron
because there's so many
Rodgers.
Muslims there.
His hyperreality no longer has any real connection to classic reality. So when did Joe begin this psychic migration? Well, a few years ago, he decided LA was the reason his life sucked. So he got the hell out of there, moved down to Austin, Texas.
You saw it during the George Floyd times in LA.
Oh, yeah.
When they were burning those cop cars on the highway, and I remember seeing that going, I gotta get the f out of here.
Oh, shit, he actually said it. When he realized he was still miserable in Austin, he had to get the hell out of there again. But he had nowhere else to go, so he began a full-on migration into his simulacrum. Because he's so rich and holds autocratic control over his entire simulacrum, he can be the dictator of what is and isn't real. Like the fact that he's a real comedian, one of the greats. And that the world as we know it is finished. It's the end of the age. Doomsday is upon us.
We are in Kali Yuga.
We are in Kali Yuga.
And the Hindus were very smart in their idea of, it was the Hindus, right?
Yes, the Hindus, yes.
They came up with this idea that there are certain ages, almost unavoidable, of civilizations.
Correct.
That they go through these cycles.
What is the period we're in now? Because it seems like it's coming to an end.
This is Kali Yuga, man. This is some weird that was predicted by the Bhagavad Gita. This is
Battle of the Gods, Ragnarok. Tell me.
This is what happens in cultures. Like, it's almost inevitable.
He even has his own theory about what's driving us toward the end of the age.
Hard times create hard men. Hard men create soft times. Soft times create soft men. Soft men create hard times. We are now around soft men and hard times.
In his reality, he's a hard man in a world run by soft men who have allowed the destruction to happen. He's been yelling about that cliff we're all supposedly headed towards, but he feels like nobody's listening. So now he feels like the destruction must happen in order to restore the world back to its proper state.
I don't think we're going to wake up. I think it's going to take something like a natural disaster or some real event, some 9/11 type event. It's just, I don't know where it ends other than a wake up. And a wake up is like a meteor hits us.
As you can observe with your own eyes, this soft, doughy collection of spheres stacked on top of each other thinks he's actually a hard man. But obviously, he's the soft man, making everything worse. He's one of the softest men of all time. Never worked a day in his life. Whines and complains for hours on his podcast over the dumbest shit year after year.
How dare we say Merry Christmas?
How dare
Cries
you
hysterically for no reason and thinks sitting in a sauna is some kind of achievement in overcoming adversity.
For the record. Is that fake?
He gets duped constantly by the most obviously fake stories, photoshops, and AI images.
Fact-checked, volcanoes do not produce more CO2 emissions than human activity.
Reuters is on your ass. Idiot.
Yeah.
And somehow he considers himself one of the greatest comedians of all time. It's embarrassing. It's clear and undeniable that he's living in some sort of inverted alternate reality inside his own mind, just like we said. And if that's upsetting to hear, it's because you are also living in the same kind of hyper-real simulacrum, and that remark just threatened to knock down one of those pillars holding up your alternate reality. You're feeling this right now because once those beliefs become ingrained, the self-preservation instinct activates. And any time those pillar beliefs are challenged, it's experienced as an existential threat because it could collapse the entire simulacrum and drag you back to that classic reality you had to get the hell out of in the first place. Consciousness is really just a big hallucination.
She's very quick.
Perfect. Just perfect.
Exactly. The hype, the reality that you come back to, the reality of your suffering. all of the reasons that you were creating this other thing. You have to meet everything again, right? And the pillar of spiritual work is we're going to walk directly into your suffering now. I'll hold your hand. You get friends, you get companions because it's hard work, but you look and give a place to your suffering. You metabolize it, and that changes your consciousness. And you're no longer trying to leave this place to get somewhere else. That's it, right? It's fascinating to see the people that have the capacity to do this. That's why it's such a work of art.
That's what, like, watching this the first time, I just like watched it straight through, full hour and a half. I'm just like, this guy is nailing every single piece of this, on the nose.
This was one of the first YouTube videos where like I'm a YouTuber now, right? I don't watch anything else, nothing else. I'm just on YouTube. I'm trying to find like obscure people that have amazing things to say with like 1,000 followers or less, and I watch them blow up, or like, I'm just like, it's the wild, wild west. I love how much accessibility there is, and you find the right people and so on, right? And it's just like this YouTube came to me. I remember I was camping outside for a few months. It was during one of these times, and so I was in YouTube a lot at night, and this showed up, and I started watching it, and I saw it was an hour and a half, and I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna watch this. There's no way." It was just a suggested video, and at 2 minutes into it, I was like, "Here we go. Here we go." So good.
So good. So good. All right.
Nation anyway, it's completely malleable. Change what's in that brain, and you change reality. For example, sometimes our brains get built a little wonky, and you get OCD, schizophrenia, all this stuff that makes your brain unable to stay in one version of reality. Very stressful. Likewise, it's very stressful when the pillar beliefs upholding your hyper-real simulacrum are challenged, as they threaten the stability of and your attachment to reality. It creates existential anxiety, and that anxiety must be relieved without destabilizing the simulacrum, and that often results in horrific consequences. Becoming the comedy czar gave Joe an immense amount of wealth, which allowed him to construct a sort of compound in which he could protect his precious simulacrum. A bunker, which would protect him from sliding back into the ever so painful classic reality ever again. And using his millions of dollars and massive influence, Jobel's attracted a flock of devoted followers who uphold and strengthen his new reality for a chance to get a piece of the pie. It takes a whole community to...
That guy, Lex Friedman, we'll talk another time about him, but...
I'd love to, because I've only watched a little bit. He gives me the shivers, man.
Pisses me off.
Pisses you off? Okay, I'd love to hear about it, because I didn't know if you were for or against them. I assumed against.
Just the total projection about being this genius, and like singing a song on Rogan's podcast, just like the total brown nosing of it all. It's just like, I'm like, where's the self? That's like so much of these people. I'm like, where's the self-respect?
Yeah, that's right. That's like, shameless behavior. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get what I want.
Where's your self-respect just out the window?
Properly uphold a hyper-real simulacrum, and Joe succeeded where Elon failed. Joe has been able to fully complete his migration by amassing a huge support network. He achieved this through several tactics. 1, by offering himself and his show as a friendship simulator during the loneliest era in human history, for his audience, but also for himself.
Oh, he's going. Day drinking rules.
2, in an era of political confusion and turmoil, he became a compass for guys with double-digit IQs who are too lazy to learn anything by themselves and don't even know how to, because they barely know how to read a real book or even a Wikipedia article.
Yeah.
Only could figure out what the coaster's for.
3, by becoming a father figure to guys who needed their dad-shaped holes plugged. Those holes longed to be plugged, and Joe became a convenient surrogate. His love and wisdom available 24/7 on Spotify, YouTube, or your podcast app of choice.
Come on!
And 4,
Buffalo Trace. We thought we'd do a sample tasting for you.
By providing an economic incentive model with his podcast becoming the home shopping network.
Tastes good.
As well as a PR washing machine.
This is funny. I went into Lorne Michaels' office, and he was talking, and I was convinced I was getting fired. Like, I knew I was getting fired. And I was like, if I get fired here, whatever, I'll just go do Joe Rogan next week, and I'll be fine.
And through comedy, by creating his own comedy cult with its own built-in multi-level comedy scheme. If you indulge Joe in his new hyper-reality, you'll be rewarded with opportunity. And because that feels so good, you'll soon find yourself migrating across the psychic ocean of your mind, joining Joe inside his simulacrum. That's why it's called the Comedy Mothership. It's a transport vessel that will migrate its believers into their new reality. Which reminds me of another cult, one of my favorites actually, Heaven's Gate. It too was run by a weird bald guy who wouldn't stop talking. This guy, Marshall Applewhite, but his friends called him Doe, which rhymes with Joe. Don't know if Joe designed his cult in homage to Doe's cult, but the similarities are striking. And I even heard a rumor that Joe's dog was named after Marshall Applewhite.
Marshall's trying to say hi to you.
Hey,
buddy.
Doe and Heaven's Gate's beliefs were a cool blend of alien spirituality and Christian apocalyptic prophecy.
I can't wait to get out of here.
Doe believed Jesus was an alien who came to Earth to guide us, and that Doe himself was a messenger from the higher plane of existence, sent here to warn humanity about the upcoming destruction. Sound familiar?
The name Jesus, of course, was the name given to the body, that mind that was indeed from the kingdom of heaven, and that mind came for the express purpose of teaching humans how they could be saved, how they would not be plowed under at the end of the age. Well, we're at the end of the age.
Like the universe has put me in this place where I'm like a scout, right? Like if you sent me down the trail, and I'm like, hey, there's a cliff.
Now, they didn't have podcasts back then, but Doe's lengthy, rambling seminar videos would fit in perfectly to our current podcasting landscape.
When things are going bad,
Many times the worst things in the human kingdom that can happen to us end up being the best things that can happen to us.
there's going to be some good that's going to come from it.
Because we learn in-depth lessons because of those difficult times.
Unexpected problems, good. You learn.
They could actually say, thank you for the lesson.
Through his podcast, I mean his videos, Doe lectured that the end of this age is upon us, that the Earth was about to be transformed, recycled, but they could escape this doom by boarding a spaceship flying behind the comet Hale-Bopp as it passed by Earth.
We are one or two events away from living in the Stone Age again. And I think it could happen in our lifetime, and it could happen to you and I.
People who would consider themselves intelligent beings that say, well, that's absurd. What's all this doomsday stuff? What's all this prophetic stuff?
We're in this very strange sort of existential crisis as a civilization that's not being recognized. And in the meantime, we're distracting ourselves.
You know, intelligent human beings should realize that everything has their cycle. They have their beginning, they have their end, they have cycles.
Hold on, didn't we? Isn't that the exact same?
There are certain ages, almost unavoidable, of civilizations.
Correct.
That they go through these cycles.
They have cycles.
Cycles.
That
they go through these cycles.
They're the exact same guy.
Every civilization, when they're at the brink of collapse, becomes obsessed with gender. The whole thing is falling apart. The foundation of our civilization is falling apart.
Doe offered his followers a way to save themselves from what he called the recycling of planet Earth, which was about to begin. He and the cultists needed to die so that the spaceship flying behind the comet could pick up their souls as they left their bodies, carrying them away to the next level of existence, to a new reality. The cultists all submitted to Doe's authority, believing that he was the gatekeeper through which they could ascend to that next level. The ultimate test came when that comet finally arrived, and they all did a full SUI in order to join Go and board that spaceship. And if you know anything at all about the Austin comedy cult, this all sounds eerily familiar, doesn't it? That's because Doe and Joe are the exact same strain of guy. Think about it. Just like Doe, Joe also offers his followers a way to transcend their lives and enter a new reality by boarding the comedy mothership. The comedy cult's followers also must commit a sui to transcend into that new reality. Not a literal full sui, but the kind of sui that existentialist Albert Camus called a philosophical sui. When we're faced with the absurdity of life, the fact that the universe is pure chaos despite our deep desire for order and meaning, we have two options. You can embrace the absurdity, surf the waves of chaos without copes, or we destroy ourselves, either literally or much more commonly through a philosophical sui. You don't sui your body, but you do sui a part of your inner self. You kill the part of your mind that's inquiring, the part that's honest, the part that embraces life's absurdity without copes, and you fill the hole left behind with things that offer false certainty in place of honest doubt. Religious faith, political partisanship, materialism, hollow spirituality, scientism, hustle cut culture,
They showed
digital
Aubrey.
escapism, reactionary nostalgia, being a fat drunk idiot all the
You
time.
want to say something?
Nah, just Aubrey Marcus just ugh.
Remember when he came on the scene? You know, he was a force for those of us that were following that sort of thing.
Yeah. That's another one. It's like this is like disappointing. Like if he had, I don't know, maybe I was just duped from the beginning and like not really seeing it for like it didn't feel like it feels now in the beginning.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. Like this is what I was talking about earlier. When like I try to stay humble enough to recognize that I fall for this shit all the time for at least a little
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
You know, I buy into it. I'm excited about it. There's something about it that's cool and different. I feel they're coming from a place where, like, yeah, that's right. This is what I'm about. And then eventually that facade falls apart, right? Or like something, there's some crack in the armor. You see it, and then you start to pay attention a little bit more. And then those other weird moments, whatever that you kind of dismissed, it all starts to come together. And you go, oh, this guy's a fucking clown,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know how I don't know how to I don't know how to deal with that other than just to keep paying attention and hold things lightly, right? Not to fall for my own seduction of like, oh, here's a guy that's going to save us, or here's a guy that's going to bring this forward. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so you have to be awake to all that, so that as soon as you can catch the cracks in the armor.
Mhm. For me, it's the lesson I'm learning is it's very much related to American individualism and the consciousness of like hero worship, right? And the Messiah worship, whether it's like there's going to be the person, right? There's the hero comes along, and there's Superman, Jesus, whatever. And I think it develops I don't know, it's probably more unconscious. This feeling of like there will be someone else, and then when someone comes along and it's like on a hot wave, people follow it. But then that person, no one can be the one. It has to be not everyone, but it has to be a community effort, you know?
It reminds me a little bit of my understanding of how love works. And what I mean is like, on the one hand, you know, the work that I do, it dissembles reality into pieces and parts in a way where you can put it back together into a larger whole, and it can be a very sobering process. For example, there's one way there's one way to look at love where on a consciousness level, what we're doing is we're projecting all of our unconscious desires onto somebody that we think is going to save us from our suffering. This is the person that's going to make me whole, and we project all of that onto them, and we fall in love. And like it kind of like takes the whole like fun out of it to a certain extent, right? And that's part of the process too, if this is the first time you're hearing something like that. But then when you can reintegrate that awareness into the experience of love, yeah, it's sobering, but it's real, you know? And it's like we're doing this all the time. We do this to heroes. I did this with football my whole life, like American football. You know, like when I was like
Yeah.
I don't know, 5, 6 years old, I looked around. I was like, oh, this is insane. I must have been watching football. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a real man. And if I can be an NFL football player, everything will be fine. That's it. Right. So then the next 20 years of my life, just like I did with spiritual healing after this, was to become the greatest football player ever. I wasn't. I got pretty far, but I also got pretty banged up and so on, right? And then there was a time in my life when I had to kill that identity off, and I actually had to take a break from football for like 10 years. Don't watch it, don't play it. And now when I come back to it now, I'm in touch with the spirit of it, and I want to help and coach kids. I want to help people be in touch with the philosophy of football, what football can do to help you grow and to heal and to become better, right? It's not about what it was before to get the glory. Even though I was down in the trenches, as I was saying, there was still glory in that for me,
Yeah.
that false self.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's a good example.
Philosophical overthinking. Cultism and guru worship, or complete submission to authority. Sometimes all of the above.
Greetings to you, my friends. It's me, D. Trussell.
Take this guy, Duncan Trussell, for example. One of Joe's longtime friends and a former advocate of radical honesty, truth-seeking, and psychedelic wisdom. Not long ago, he was the lone voice of reason in Joe's inner circle, and the only guy to openly predict how Joe would be corrupted by powerful forces looking to exploit him for access to his far-reaching media platform.
People have decided you're one of the magnifying glasses focusing this beam of attention into the world. You have to watch out because people are gonna try to exploit you. That's the main thing, is people recognizing what you are, who have political agendas, will infiltrate your and then start blowing out their radioactivity into the world. And you have to wrestle with your identity. I worry about you, man.
He was well aware of these billionaire techno-wizard freaks out there, manipulating new media before it became too obvious to deny. He warned Joe about them being a danger over and over again.
We established they're these billionaires, and they live in these compounds. Right. And certainly people like Michael Hastings and other people, they get killed all the time. There's super powerful people who will use technology to kill people to have their own way. So that means that there is some group or series of groups of people that are doing highly nefarious actions from places of power. We know that there is truly a war to control the paradigm.
He was by all accounts an honest guy, and probably the only guy on that stupid podcast who would rather say what's true than just whatever the burgeoning comedy emperor wanted to hear. But those sorts of qualities are no longer welcome in the comedy czar's simulacrum. They're far too threatening. So once Joe migrated into his new reality, Duncan faced the hard choice of either embracing the absurd and maintaining his principles of honesty and truth, or committing a philosophical sui and joining Joe in his new reality in order to maintain connection to the comedy czar's sphere of influence. Oh, Tipahan.
Whatever's happening, you just have to make it a good thing. Anything that's happening to you can be converted into something either that's going to make you scared, self-destructive, rationalize your anger, rationalize your shitty decisions, or it can be used as a thing that completely converts you. At any given moment, you can shed your operating system. You could drop all of the hangups, all the weird at any moment connected to the great truth, the divine.
That was him 5 years ago. He's since followed through on this new guy conversion, so let's see how connected he is to that great truth. Ooh, that divine.
Let me ask you this, what do you think about people who say that someone like Peter Thiel is the Antichrist?
Here's what's fascinating to me about accusing Peter Thiel of being the Antichrist.
Now, Peter Thiel, in case you didn't know this in advance, is one of the primary billionaire techno-wizards we mentioned earlier. With his immense wealth, Thiel wields massive influence in politics, media, and online information from behind the scenes. He says cool stuff like freedom and democracy are actually not compatible. Pete's company, Palantir, is deeply embedded with the CIA, ICE, FBI, NSA, police, and the military-industrial complex, and promises to be the most powerful mass surveillance platform to ever exist. He subscribes to a philosophy that believes that civilization as we know it ought to be destroyed, and from its ashes, a new technocracy should arise, a new state run by a CEO king who wields absolute authority. Pete is part of this new military tech industrial complex, operating with little oversight while creating autonomous weapons and surveillance systems. These algorithms remain...
before we go too deep into Peter Thiel, I want to talk about Duncan Trussell for a sec. That's okay.
Yeah.
I want to be a little careful here because I have some personal relationships that connect me to him. And I used to be with him in Hawaii for a few years when we go to the Ram Dass retreats
Mhm.
because, Jason Schulman and non-dual Kabbalistic healing is my main path. And then really my other main path is what Ram Dass has created with the Be Here Now, Love Serve Remember Foundation and so on. And his guru, Neem Karoli Baba, who is the real deal. And so I'd see Duncan a lot, and my fiance is friends with, I don't know if he's still with her, whoever he was with at the time, who we'd be with in Hawaii. So I want to be careful about what I say because he was the first guy that brought Ram Dass's teachings into the mainstream comedy field. I mean, he did that. He was the trailblazer there. And I will forever be grateful for what he did. And as much as certain parts of myself don't want to give him credit and say, like, hey, Tim, you did this, you did that. Like, the fact is, like, this is the guy who did it. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
was him first. And then Pete Holmes, who was also there. We'd all sit in the hot tub together. They probably don't remember me, but I remember them because I was listening to them. And I would hang with them. And I'd be like, all right, these are the guys. And I would think, why don't they have better bodies? And then I'd move on from that as well. Just meeting my stuff. I was like, these guys aren't like jacked at all. What's
These
up
guys
with
jacked?
You're comedy guys, But I'd be there with them, and I'd be so grateful for their contribution, for the trailblazing that they did, and for bringing this kind of consciousness into the mainstream. It was amazing work, right? And I'm resisting. There's a YouTube channel, one of the ones that I want to bring you to. It's called Too Lazy to Try. Have you come across this guy yet?
I've seen them. Yeah.
Right. He's got a Patreon. You pay $5 and you could get the Duncan Trussell download.
Mhm.
Yeah. He seems, the theme seems to be that Duncan is losing his shit based on all of this. And
I saw that he really got screwed up from this video.
That's what it seems.
And
right?
Elfin
I don't know.
Graveyard put out a post to say, like, because people were harassing Duncan, and he was like, "Don't do that shit. Like, this is a satire video."
Mm-hmm. So I saw that too.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a case of, he's just caught in the wave of Rogan, and he's like his homeboy, and he's like having doesn't want to, he's just backing his homeboy. It kind of just feels like that.
Well, it's also, what
or
I
he's
think
afraid
about
of the uncomfortability of bringing it up.
Could be, right? Again, like we're operating with a small set of information, so we have to hold all this lightly, right? And I think about, how badly I want to do certain things in my life that I feel are very valuable. For example, right now, I'm gathering a class, which you're going to be teaching with me, to teach people to do what I do, to be non-dual Kabbalistic healers, and to work with this consciousness, which is a path of nonviolence. And in my opinion, it's brilliant in terms of how we understand how the world works and how it works us. And as I pay attention to the people that I bring into this class, I can see my blind spots. When I slow down enough and I'm humble enough, I can see I'd be willing to take anybody to a certain extent because it's a lot of money.
Mhm.
And I want to be somebody. And when I teach this class, I'll be known as somebody in the world. I'll be teaching at the highest level of this kind of stuff that we do. And I want that. And I have to ride that. And I have to be honest with myself, like, do you really want to be the best teacher in the world? Well, to the extent that you're willing to do that and you're not unconscious to the ways that you're willing to do that, you're going to use the world and you're going to use your students and you're going to use the people that you bring into this class to get that done. And then you're going to be with them for 4 years. And then you and the rest of the teaching team and everyone in the class is going to deal with this hyperreal simulacrum that I've created.
Yeah. Nah,
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do see what you're saying.
And it's so subtle because what I'm doing is great. What am I doing? I'm bringing healing into the world. It's all I want to do. Blah, blah, blah. Right. And yet, I can fall victim to this just like anybody else can.
Mhm. Yeah, the fractalness of it all.
That's right. So I have the utmost compassion for all of this. And I feel badly that this is what happens when you're in the public eye.
Yeah,
'Cause I
that's
know
what I
the
was saying. Like I was saying to you the other day, it's starts with like on the surface level, I'm all love. As I wrestle with reality more and sink down, it can get very cynical and become a hater. But then underneath under that too, it's also just like love, and which is really just, you know, the cynicalness is really covering for the love that I feel and the disappointment because of the love, right?
It's the
For my
disappointment.
heart. Yeah.
It's the disappointment. It's the brokenheartedness, the disappointment, the upset, the horror, right? If we can't feel that, we're going to draw righteous lines in the sand and we're going to say, you have to be different.
Mhm.
And we're going to miss the whole mark. If we really want to transform and evolve together, somehow we have to let our hearts break when guys like this, who we look up to, fall asleep the way the rest of us can. And they fall victim to the rest of us can, which is why, as this is all going on, it's very interesting to me because in a sense, I don't have skin in the game, but I feel like I do because I know these guys. I don't hang out with them day to day, but I know them. I'm one step away.
Mhm.
And it's like I'm rooting for them. Maybe one of the few that's actually rooting for them to meet this well and let them be healthily humiliated by it and to see what emerges from this death, this falling apart of their hyperreal simulacrum and see what happens, you know?
Yeah. I also hope the same. I don't know how that would look like or how they would even like transform through it. I think like specifically within like American culture, especially because like a Christian nation like this, there's so obsession with like forgiveness, immediate like apology, like oh if they apologize, they should be given forgiveness, and then like oh you've repented and then you've been saved by Jesus or whatever it may be, and missing out the part where like you then have to follow that up with significant action, right? We can acknowledge like hey you you acknowledging what you've done wrong is one thing, and then changing what you do moving forward, like that's something I think we as a culture just like do not follow through with.
Well, the significant action is an interesting statement. It's something I would wonder about actually, because I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's something that I would think about in terms of my ideas of what I demand of other people to make things right, in terms of my idea of right. Fundamentally, what I'm interested in is are they meeting this well? Meaning, are they meeting the result of their delusions, the manifestation of the delusions in this perfectly, exquisitely set up reality that's set up to do this, right? You had the capacity to get this big, and now in a very big way, what you've created out of some delusions is falling apart. How are you going to meet that? How are you going to use that to nourish your being and transform? And from there, I might hope that they take significant action, but I don't demand it. I'm just paying attention.
Mhm. I think I'd be more so say it's like if you want to move into the place of like, all right, I'm taking responsibility, right? I think part of that responsibility process is your action to rebuild trust, reconciliation needs to be at least like equivalent to the consequences of your actions.
Right. If you throw a party, you make a mess, clean
Right.
up your mess.
Yeah, you gotta clean up your mess. Take responsibility and clean up your mess. Right.
agree.
Which I think is what causes so much of the current cultural moment. I think at least with like when I'm thinking about just in terms of the United States and the discussion around slavery, right? Slavery, reparations, colonization. Not acknowledging it fully, right? Continues to perpetuate, and now we're at where we're at, where we have a bunch of people who are like, well, I didn't do it. It's like, yeah, but we're all part of this thing that the people before didn't take responsibility and didn't
well
take, and
said.
so it's still our, like, we still got to deal with it.
This is something I see in my healing practice all the time, where at some point it always becomes relevant for me to say to my client, it's really unfair that you were wounded as a child and you're now in your 40s and you're still dealing with the effects of this wounding
Mhm.
and you're still working on it. And people that had, their parents stayed together, you had a healthy environment, you were given everything you need. Well, it turns out they're healthy. Crazy, crazy how it works, isn't it?
Mhm.
And in a certain sense, they had an easier life. Yeah, they had an easier life. Less ups and downs, less roller coasters, less craziness because they weren't as dysfunctional because they had a safe holding of themselves. They had somebody who received and reflected them so they could see themselves and grow. And they weren't shamed when they had bad behavior. They were corrected and they had an example, right? And those of us that don't, somehow we have to not only get through that, and then without the tools, we have to get through life. And it's only after we create an empire and we're still unhappy that we realize, oh, fuck, like I'm doing this all wrong. This strategy's weary and tired, right? And what I say to them is, life is unfair. That's it. I got sick for 7 years. I lost everything. I maybe could have been a millionaire podcaster. I was riding that wave. I got Lyme disease. I was in bed for 5 years, right? When I was done with that and I started to get better, I had to meet this crazy idea I had that everything was going to be okay. Turned out nothing was okay. Everything had fallen apart. And now I had to rebuild. And everybody else had what it seemed to be a 7-year head start on me. And I was like, wow, it's not ever going to get better.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so unfair. Right. But let me tell you, the gifts in that experience are profound. And it always makes me think of there's a saying in some Bible or some Torah somewhere that angels weep because they don't have the experience of what humans have to come back to God, to come back to wholeness, and to have that experience of separation and to go through that. And to me, I would never take back anything that I went through at this point. And the grace in my process was I had teachers and other people that could be the example, like Jason Schulman. When I went into my illness, what kept me going through that, easy peasy, was Jason had gone through a 7-year illness himself. He was diagnosed with Lyme disease before Lyme disease was a thing. Nobody even knew. And he was in bed for 5, 6, 7 years. And then he got through it. And what happened? He was supposed to be a publisher. He was supposed to be a music artist. He had a ton of talent. He became a healer. He developed non-dual Kabbalistic healing. This path that I think is so fucking genius and changed my life. And I committed my whole life to bringing that forward in the world, right? He only got there because of how unfair life is. So is it really that unfair? Right? Or is it how you meet it? And can you get the gifts in these so-called problems? This problem that I'm sick for 7 years and everything's falling apart and life is going on without me and all my friends are enjoying themselves, all that. You know what it taught me? It taught me I need validation from no one. It gave me a relationship to reality where even if there isn't someone here to be with me, I know there's an intelligence that knows where I'm at and sees me. And I know that I'm doing this now for me. And it's not in a place of fuck you anymore. It's in a place of like, I'm doing this for me because I'm a part of this thing. And I've been given this tremendous opportunity through suffering to heal into a healthy enough place where I know that that's true. I'm doing this for me because I love me and I love what this is and I love this opportunity that life has given me and I'm not going to waste it. And I get scared because I'm like I'm 40 years old now and I go I've learned so much. I hope I don't die before I can share what I've learned, which is a big part of why I'm doing this with you right now because I'm like I got to get it out. I know something. I don't have the whole piece. I don't have the answer to everything, but I got a good piece of it now because of the clumsiness of my life and how I kept showing up. And I just so happened to find good teachers right as things got bad. And I got to integrate those teachings into that badness and I got to heal through it. And now I have the capacity again to speak and to move around and to remember, return to wholeness, And to me, that's the most profound thing ever. So whenever people come to me and they're like, why why after, and, I have a psychiatrist client who's like, I'm 40 something years old. I don't have the family I want and so on. And I'm just beating the shit out of myself every day because of this. And I'm like, instead of judging yourself for this, you should get curious. What is so hard about this situation? What is so difficult about this situation that has made it take this long to get through it? It has nothing to do with your self-worth. You're great. You're super smart. You're a psychiatrist. You're super smart. But because of your early wounding and the dysfunction that created, which had nothing to do with you, you're having difficulties now. And instead of judging yourself and coming to conclusions, this is going on in my life, so obviously I'm a piece of shit. This is going on in my life, so obviously I'm just, nobody loves me. Instead of doing that, get curious. Why is this so hard? Right? And it starts to you start to come closer to the stuff rather than looking at it like it's an actual problem. And that's the consciousness of like, this isn't a problem, right? It's a problem, but it's not a problem only. The problem is actually here to solve you and to help you self-actualize. And the people that have pillows all around them their whole life, do they ever achieve this? They're closer to angels. They got one mission and they do their mission. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I actually think
Cool.
that's why, like, sometimes you can see like the new age. I'm kind of generalizing here, but when I say like the new age movement, and like the popularity of like new age spirituality within American culture, at least, like from wealthy people, that like because their life like kind of lacked a certain level of difficulty, and because like America also like romanticizes the struggle, right, in terms of identity, right, the American story of pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I think we see that express itself in a way in people who grew up with those pillows around them. There's a certain emptiness in there, so they go searching, like, go and do an ayahuasca, and like it's like none of them really have any real trauma, but like kind of like a lot of these things kind of just like look at how much of a spiritual explorer I am. Like I did this, I do this, I do this, and this. And you can feel the disconnection in it. You can feel like it's not rooted in a place of like actual truth seeking.
Yeah.
Again, I'm generalizing here, but it's more of like it's a problem that you see in just like new age culture.
Yes. And, something like that gets me curious. I go, oh, here's another environment through which someone was born into that they didn't ask for. And everything is so perfectly set up. They still have a suffering that they're trying to solve. What's the suffering? Is it fraudulence?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, like honestly, just questions, just more and more good questions that help me bring me into relationship with what's going on. Like, because, my understanding of reality is that everything that we do and everything that's happening, it's already healing. All of reality, the spirit of reality is healing. And everything that we do, no matter how fucked up it is an attempt to heal. And my job is to see the intelligence in our behavior and not shame somebody, but help them see the intelligence in what that is, right? Somebody who smokes a cigarette, and someone's like, oh my God, everything's so overwhelming. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Now I can breathe. I've filled my lungs with smoke and toxins and poison, and now I can breathe, right? And I'm sitting here drinking alcohol, chewing the nicotine. I'm no saint, right? I get it. I know what my wounds are. And while I use this strategy to breathe, right? I'm smoking the cigarette to breathe. I'm also going, is there a better way? Can I do this a better way? What is it that I'm trying to anesthetize here? How am I trying to take care of myself here? How am I trying to heal and feel whole? And I get in touch with that. So I'm still going to do these strategies, right? It's like telling an alcoholic they're an alcoholic right before they take a drink. It ruins them, right? They're still going to drink, but it's going to irritate them. And that's the medicine going down because they know it's true. And some other part of them says, hey, stop abandoning me. There's another way. There's a better way, man. There's a better way. And that's what all this is about, in my opinion. It's about seeing the intelligence in our behavior, no matter how fucked up it is, whether it's, ignoring somebody or a school shooting. It doesn't matter. It's an attempt to heal. It's an attempt to heal. And it gets me, instead of going to a place of judgment, some false sense of clarity where I can land and say, I know what's going on. This is how we fix this and blah, blah, blah. Instead, I get curious and I go, why are they really doing this?
Mhm.
What are they trying to solve within themselves through this fucked up expression, this distortion, this
Yeah.
manifestation of separation, which is, in
Mhm.
my opinion, evil. Like, when I think of evil, I think of a separative consciousness that's acting out. Evil is separation. Heaven is gratitude for all things because you see the intelligence in all things. Hell is when you don't know why something is here and you're demanding to know and you don't know. So you're suffering because you're so separate and you have to get somewhere else other than where you are. So you're in hungry ghost consciousness, eating all this shit up through greed and otherwise. And it's not nourishing you, but you're so out of touch with who you really are. So you're in hell. It's
Yeah.
holographic. Make sense?
It does make sense. No, I often say my phrase when I talk about, use an example of school shootings, holding the consciousness of analysis is not excuse, right? And to properly analyze, you have to empathize, even with the worst people, with even someone who would kill children.
That's right.
To be able to hold enough of reality where we can empathize, not in a way to excuse or have sympathy for them, right? But as a way of actually, how do we solve this problem? What's
That's right.
actually going on here so I can actually have a solution?
Coming in relationship to the disease before we rush to a cure.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to do. It's taken me 15 years. People ask me, what does it take to do this healing work? Everything. The totality of your being, moment by moment, and making that choice moment by moment to marry life as it is in this way that we're talking about, in this particular way. It's some deep shit.
It is.
It makes me proud to be able, even if nobody ever listens to this, it makes me proud to be talking about it with you.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. All right, let's get
Yeah.
back to this.
I almost
topic.
forgot about marrying life until you brought it up. No, the
Good.
marriage of life.
That's why I teach. Go on.
Yeah. No, just
yeah, go on.
You go ahead.
All I was going to say is that's why I teach this work. The reason being is because I forget all the time. Spiritual communities talk about satsang and needing brothers and sisters on the path.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why we need that, there's many reasons. For me, primarily, it's because I forget. And I'm super eccentric about it. You can see there's stuff on my wall. Everything on my wall is intentional. And I'll write on my arm in permanent marker the stuff that I need to remember that I'm working on. My dreams right now are very healing dreams. It's constant setups. I have a dream, and because my intention is to heal, and it's true, my dreams are healing dreams. So it's my unconscious that's always trying to make something conscious. In other words, there's always something that I'm resisting and leaving out and working hard to leave it out because it's too much to bear or I don't know how to be with it. And so my dreams right now are always perfectly set up to be like, hey, Tim, my dream last night was about graduating high school or college. It doesn't matter. But all my friends were moving on. And I kept asking them, do you want to do this with me? Can you come home and we do this? And they were all going on to other things. And so what was I left with? When I woke up in the morning, I was left with a feeling of profound emptiness. And I thought, this is my work today. Pay attention to what I'm doing to save myself from emptiness so I don't take myself out of the stream of life and I don't interrupt the creation process. What's the creation process? Me incarnating into my life. Why am I not incarnating into my life and being happy, truly happy? Because I'm not able to bear emptiness. What do I do in the meantime? I drink beers and shove nicotine in my mouth. That's what I do. That's what I do.
He's a Zen dog.
That's it. Actually, I don't do Zen. There's other. Lucy is less
Yeah.
expensive. But that's what it is, right? When I went through the program to become a healer, it was me and women that were 55 and older. Just me, 27 years old male, and women 55 and older. What did they do in this territory? They knitted. They were awake to their suffering. They were awake to the anxiety and the vulnerability that brought up in them. And they consciously took care of themselves by knitting. They didn't deny what was happening, but they denied it enough to not take it on fully. And they were knitting. So what do? It's an age-old strategy. I drink beer. I chew tobacco. It's not a great strategy, but it's the one I know, and it provides great comfort. And I hope that it doesn't kill me before I can transmit what I know and I continue healing. That's it. Okay.
Hell yeah. You should get this. I've discovered this stress ball. I know it's not, but like, it's like it feels like it's a piece of dough. But you can't pull it apart. Genuinely,
But it
just discovered it this weekend, and it's going to change my life. It has already
But it
changed my
doesn't get
life.
me high. It doesn't
I
get me
know,
high,
but,
Zach.
like, it helps me.
I
You can
know.
squeeze it as hard as you want.
Mail one to me.
I will. I
I'll
absolutely
try
will.
it. I will. I
I'm gonna
will.
give
I'll
one
try it.
to- I'm gonna give one to every client I have when I teach yoga classes. I'm gonna give them to people and have them squeeze while they're stretching.
I'm imagining profound boredom as I do this. Like, fuck, I wish I was high on nicotine right now. Like, God, I wish my central nervous system would just relax right now.
I think
With
for
alcohol.
me, it helps me like be able to, at least so far, I don't have to like, I don't unconsciously get on my phone if I'm just like watching TV or something like that, or because it occupies my hands. But
Yeah, there's a time, and then we'll get back to the video. There's a time when I was working through rage, right? And this was in my late 20s. So the only way that I could deal with my rage was through sports and lifting and exercise. And I was talking to my healer at the time, who's also a doctorate in psychology and so on. So he's not just a spiritual healer, as you might be thinking. This is a guy who's also a shaman. He was actually the guy who taught me how to love a man. Actually, he was the first man in my life that taught me how to have love with a man. So one of my favorite people in the world. And he did that by letting me fuck up over and over again. Anyway, there's a time when I said, I'm so angry about this and I'm getting so sick. This is with the gift and the illness because my body didn't allow me to go on the football field and just crush people. So I had to find a better strategy through this new limitation to deal with my anger and my rage. And he laughed at me in a loving way. He was like, what about instead of knocking someone unconscious, you could dip your rage into an ocean of compassion? And that's the same feeling I had when you just offered this stress ball. I was like, you're a fucking idiot.
fuck you. I was thinking in terms of the knitting.
No, it's a great idea. Don't get me like I'm not knocking it.
Yeah,
I'm naming.
fuck you.
I'm naming
Give me a beer.
That's right. I'm naming my own attachment to getting high on alcohol and nicotine, and how it takes me away from my suffering, right? And I'm just trying to show everybody that I am not somebody to put on a pedestal, but I am somebody that's been in the trenches for a long time. That's all I want to transmit. And I genuinely hope I don't die before I can share what I know. That's it. That's why I'm here.
I don't want to die because I want to see how this all unfolds. This century. I think it's gonna be fucked. I think it's gonna be insane. We're gonna see a lot of things that man-made horror is behind our comprehension, but I want to see it. I want to see what comes out the other side.
Me too. It's secondary though to wanting to share what I know. This is what it is.
How much longer do you want to go? We're almost at 3 hours.
I know. I was thinking, let's try to finish this if we can. How much longer we got on the video?
We still got a whole hour on the video.
Oh my God. Okay.
We can also
You
do
want to
this.
pause?
We can do the second half another time.
We could do a part 2. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We could do a part 2. But let me tell you, man, this has been the missing piece of my life. How do you feel about this?
I love this. I know I'm getting back. You're much more, you clean the pipes off and you're like back in the like public speaking. It's going to take me a minute to get up to speed.
It's cool, man. Because people will connect to you too in that way. Like seriously, they'll see me and be like, fuck this smooth riding motherfucker. And they'll be like, this guy I connect to. You know, there's always like, as long as you're yourself, it's all good, you know?
Yeah.
I'm only like this because I teach all day long. This is all I do. Like doing this right here is no different than my classes. You know, it's the undefended self, right? Like true self, false self territory. Like there's some classes that I teach where in the beginning of the class, I just tell people how fucked up I am. And then once I get that out of the way, I'm like, anybody that wants to leave can leave. Anybody that wants to stay can stay. And now I can just be myself. Right? That's how I deal with that territory now. You know?
Oh yeah.
But dude, I don't know. I appreciate you so much, man. And I'm just so glad that we're doing this. And we can pause here if we want. It's all good with me. And we can you want to continue this? Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. We'll do it again next week.
All right. So let me say one thing. I wrote this down earlier. I have no idea if it's good. I haven't read it again. So I'm just going to read it out loud.
You want me to stop or are you going to say this recorded?
No. Yeah, let's say it recorded because it has something to do with like maybe what we might name this or, you know, maybe you'll be like, nah, you know, but let me just say, right. It's the spirit of where I'm coming from at this point in my life. And the spirit is hang in there. I said, as long as we believe in each other enough and we learn to listen and understand each other and learn how to understand ourselves, we're all going to get there. Wherever there is, we're going to get there. Like if I show up and I say, I believe in God, and you say, I don't. I truly believe if you and I sat down long enough, we would say, oh, we believe the same exact thing. I truly believe that. And so what I'm about right now is hang in there. That's it.
I like it. I like hanging there a lot. Hang in there like rolls like nicely with the theme of like my festival totem and music thing we're doing with Hold On to Your Friends. Kind of like, you know, like, yeah, hang in there. Keep working through it.
That's right. We're going to get there together.
Yeah.
We're all walking each other home. I know you like that one, right?
I
The
like
round
them a
dust
lot.
thing. We're all
Yeah.
right. And it's it. So maybe we'll play with that. Okay,
All
man.
right.
Thank you so
There we
much.
go.
All right.
Hang in there, episode 1.
See ya.
And how I gotta jump off here and end stream.
Still going live.